On today's episode, we've got a runtime now for Indiana Jones 5, and it's the longest it's ever been. The Taika Waititi Star Wars movie is allegedly still in development. The Rian Johnson new Star Wars trilogy is officially dead. Pedro Pascal is being pitched by Jack Black to play Wario in a Mario Brothers follow-up movie. Okay, why not? Should they move up the release date of Joker 2 now that they've actually finished filming it and it's not supposed to come out till 2024? Grand Admiral Thrawn now has its actor. Mario Brothers smashes all kinds of records. That and a few things more. The John Campea Show starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world: movies, movie news, TV, and streaming. And we're not just giving you opinions, we give you information and context so you guys can form your own better informed opinions. Joining me here today, of course, we got Ray Ora, Taylor Gonzalez is back there, Jonathan Voico running the show, the delightful Chris Carr is here, and most importantly, you guys are here. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to break it down into two parts. First part of the show, we're going to talk about some predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your questions that you guys have been sending in to our tip link at streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. When you send in a question there anytime 24/7, we'll get around to it on our next show that we do. All right, guys. With all that down, we got a off the top thing here that literally just dropped a few minutes ago. I haven't even looked into it myself, but Chris, you've been following this. What do we got going on?
Of course, it's animation news. So, Ray, can I get a little doo-doo-doo from you from breaking news?
You get the hype button.
I love the hype button because you should be hyped about this. So we have word that an animated series based on the Stranger Things universe has been greenlit and is in pre-production. This is going to be brought to you by Eric Robles and the folks over at Flying Bark Productions. Now, those are the people who are behind Netflix's Glitch Techs. Highly recommend that show if you have not checked it out.
I am not aware of that one.
I think you would actually really enjoy it. It's corrupted kind of video game code that can come to life. And so the Glitch Techs have to deal with video game characters that end up in reality. It's very, very fun.
What's that Stein, the kids horror book series by
R.L. Stein?
Yeah, what's that book series called again?
With the video games?
No. But it's a book series, the famous book series Horror for Kids. Jack Black was just in a movie about it.
I thought it was just
Goosebumps. It sounds like a little bit of a mixture of Goosebumps and Tron and Wreck-It Ralph and all mixed into one.
But this is just one of the many, many things we've heard that the Duffer Brothers are working on right now, too. We've got a little blurb from Variety here saying, "We've always dreamed of an animated Stranger Things in the vein of Saturday morning cartoons that we grew up loving. And to see this dream realized has been absolutely thrilling." They go on to say, "We couldn't be more blown away by what Eric Robles and his team have come up with. The script and artwork are incredible. We can't wait to share more with you. The adventure continues." We already know, based on other spin-off series that they've talked about, other shows, a stage show that's supposed to open in the West End, things like that, that these spin-offs aren't going to focus on 11. They're not going to focus on Steve Harrington. Missed opportunity. But there's a lot of cool stuff to work with. What do you think about this?
I'm a little torn.
Yeah?
I am. Like, on the one hand, I understand the business principle, right? Everything is about franchise. So if you got a property and it's hot and people are enjoying it and liking it, give them more. And so I can totally understand why Netflix would want to move forward with it. As much as I loved the latest episode of Stranger Things, and I did, I think it was fantastic.
That finale was great.
Really enjoyed it a lot. At the same time, I felt in that season like I could feel it winding down. I don't know if that makes sense, if those are two contrarian kind of ideas, but I absolutely loved it. It's my favorite thing Stranger Things has done. And yet I also felt like it was starting to wrap up and coming to a close. Mm-hmm. And I remember when they were talking about doing more extended stuff with Stranger Things, wondering if it'll still have that magic, right? And I get it. If I was a board member at Netflix, I'd say take a swing at this too. I totally would. So I totally get it. I'm just wondering how the audience will respond to it, if it's not 11. Because I don't know. What's the name of the town they're in
Hawkins.
Again? Hawkins. I don't know that it's Hawkins and the town of Hawkins that everybody's in love with, or if it's even the Upside Down that everybody's in love with, as so much they're in love with 11, and they're in love with all these kids and stuff like that. And if it's not them, are we going to be as attached? And I'm not saying we're not. I'm just saying I wonder, do you think the audiences will be there for this?
I feel like that's the big question here, right? Is can you use the same IP and keep mining it without the people who you actually like are following their specific journey, right? I do think Hawkins has a really rich, interesting past, as we've seen in this latest season. Also, the Upside Down is just ripe for weird shit to play with, especially in animation, because you can do so much more banana stuff. You can also be a lot more violent in animation than you can in live action, and it can kind of create this, well, it's not real, so we can still play with kind of like guidelines and things like that. So I think there's a lot of potential here. It just really depends on whether or not people are going to move forward without 11. Hopefully, if we get a really satisfying end to her story, then we'll just go, I want to revisit this, and we'll have more of a let's explore Hawkins in a way that's successful, as opposed to things like the Harry Potter franchise, where we kind of seem to not care when it's not Harry Potter, right? So hopefully they can strike that balance. And my agent, hi Mike, you better submit me for the show.
But that's, you bring up the Harry Potter situation, right? Because I was wondering about that. It's not an apples to apples comparison. Admittedly, it's not. But like when they tried to do the world of Harry Potter without Harry Potter, and for the most part without Hogwarts either, it didn't succeed nearly as well on the same level as the other Harry Potter movies.
Generous. It circled the drain. And there was a lot of other drama there too. Like, I'll give it that, but ooh.
How big would Maverick have been if Tom Cruise wasn't there? Look what happened with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I mean, make no mistake, Black Panther Wakanda Forever was still a big hit.
Yes.
But it only made close to half of what the first one did because Chadwick Boseman wasn't there. So I just wonder how that's going to be received. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? We knew there were going to be more Stranger Things properties coming. We got an animated series coming. I guess it's not going to focus on 11 or things like that. What do you think the audience's response is going to be? I think we're all going to at least check it out, but can it have the same kind of success that, say, the base show has had? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move into another little bit of an off the top here, and that is this. You know, of course, Star Wars Celebration was going on this past weekend, and a lot of big news that I'm sure will get retconned in the next few months. But one of the things that came out, they talked a lot of Indiana Jones, and we got a runtime for Indiana Jones. Now, apparently, Kathleen Kennedy was saying that the runtime for Indiana Jones is going to be around 2 hours and 22 minutes. And she said, maybe it's all the television that we're doing and the long form storytelling that we're doing that is making us have these movies be a little bit longer. And I go, really? Long form storytelling? Because I saw Obi-Wan Kenobi and I have seen not one, but two different fan edits where two different individuals took the entire series and edited it down to like a 2.5, 2 hour and 45, one of them pushing 3 hours movie were so much shorter than the show was, that was 10 times better than the show. So I don't know if that's the case here. But this last one, it is the final one, at least the one with Harrison Ford is the final one. It is going to be the longest of the franchise so far. Now, to give us a little bit of context about the length of this movie being 2 hours and 22 minutes, here's what the length of these Indiana Jones movies have been so far. So when we go back to Raiders of the Lost Ark, that first movie was 1 hour and 55. They've all come in very, very close to each other. I think the first four movies have all been within 12 minutes of each other. So Raiders at 1 hour and 55 minutes, Temple of Doom at 1 hour and 58 minutes, The Last Crusade, the best Indiana Jones movie, at 2 hours and 7 minutes, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull at 2 hours and 2 minutes, and now this one, Dial of Destiny, coming in at 2 hours and 22 minutes, or about 15 minutes longer than the previous one before that. So I've already seen a lot of discussion online this morning over those 15 minutes. Like, what does it mean? The importance of it being this much longer. And to a degree, I think Kathleen Kennedy's actually right. Like, we're seeing a lot of these bigger blockbuster epic kind of movies starting to get a little bit longer runtime, sometimes for good, sometimes for not so good, but whatever. I think the fact of the matter that this will be Harrison Ford's last go. And quite frankly, we don't know a ton about the movie, but just from what we've seen in the trailers, it seems like they've got a lot to cover. It seems like they have a lot of story to cover, especially with Mads Mikkelsen being in there. Oh, he was like just like born to play an Indiana Jones villain. The only thing that would have been better is if Christoph Waltz was like his co-villain in this movie. I would have eaten that up. But But, so it kind of makes sense to me. And it's not that big of a stretch. It's not like we're talking, she came out and said, oh, this one's going to push 3 hours, which I don't think Harrison Ford would stay awake for to do the whole thing.
Neither would Ray.
Neither would Ray. Ray would take a pass on
Do
the
not
movie.
get me an advance ticket to this.
So again, it kind of falls in. It does end up, when you go back to the first Raiders of the Lost Ark, it does end up being 27 minutes longer than the first one, but still, it's not that big of a gap. So I don't see it as that big of an issue or that big of a deal. I think, again, it being the final chapter for Harrison Ford, the fact that they have so much story to cover here, I think that dials it in at 222 minutes. And honestly, for a big blockbuster film, like what they're hoping Indiana 5 will be, a little short of 2.5 hours, I think is a perfectly good runtime. Anyway, Chris, you heard about the runtime for this. What do you make of it?
I mean, he's 80. He's got to take a few more steps. It's going to take that extra 15 minutes. I think if this is his swan song, it makes sense, right? We're getting a new character introduced, first of all, a new dynamic there, his goddaughter with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And we're going to learn more about Indy's past, this thing he's been searching for his whole life. This is the end of his story. We are talking more about his age in this one. That's what he's talked about a lot in interviews of, winding down and like maybe not being the adventurer he used to be and grappling with all of that. There's a lot of stuff to deal with in this movie. So if we're going to take an extra 15 minutes to do it, I don't really mind it, so long as it's executed well, right? That's what it always comes down to. Things can feel like they're really, really bloated if it's just not good storytelling. So hopefully this is just really nice. It feels like a good runtime. We're going to have a lot of action. We're going to have a lot of heart. And if not, hopefully this is better than Crystal Skull.
Well,
that's kind of where I'm at.
It's James Mangold. I still have a lot of hope. And Taylor, you can look this up for me, but I'm sure I'm going to be off by a couple of years. This is still the fact, and we've talked about this a lot, but this one still always staggers me a bit. To put it in context, Harrison Ford in this movie, I believe, will be 15 years older than Sean Connery was.
Yeah.
Yep.
When he played Indy's dad in The Last Crusade. So give me, fact check me on my number there, but I think Sean Connery
was 56.
Oh, I take it back. He's like 23, 24 years
Harrison
older
Ford is 80.
than Sean Connery was in that. Okay. I mean, that's, that just kind of really stunningly puts it in context for you. Whatever. I'm still really excited about this movie. I can't wait to see it. Guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this, about the runtime for this brand new Indiana Jones film? It's going to be the longest Indiana Jones film we've ever had, not by a lot. Do you think it's significant? Do you think it's not so significant? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's stay on the topic of things that got revealed over at Star Wars Celebration this week, shall we? Now, of course, we got some of the big things that came out. We got our first look at the Ahsoka trailer, which, even though I'm not a big fan of the Ahsoka character, that was a great trailer. And I am very excited to watch that series. And we're going to talk about a number of other things coming out there as well. But a couple of things that didn't get talked about on the big stage when they dropped the announcements about the Mandalorian movie, about the Rey Skywalker movie, about the James Mangold, Formation Birth of the Jedi movie. What was not discussed was, number one, the Star Wars movie that Kathleen Kennedy just recently said was going to be the next Star Wars movie, which was Taika Waititi's. Also, they have never officially said that they have canceled the Rian Johnson trilogy. Remember, they made an announcement that Rian Johnson was going to be doing a trilogy of films. I have said from day one, that trilogy will never happen. But Rian Johnson has kept talking as if it was going to happen, and Kathleen Kennedy has kept talking as if it was going to happen. Well, finally, at Star Wars Celebration this week, Kathleen Kennedy said, yeah, that project, that's no longer happening. Although, they still could work together. This is what Kathleen Kennedy had to say about the Rian Johnson situation. She said the following. Kathleen Kennedy explained that they are no longer developing the Rian Johnson trilogy of films, but would love to work with him again when his schedule permits. Rian and I talk all the time, she said. He is unbelievably busy, so we're not actively involved in anything at the moment because he's doing one of the Glass Onion movies and then God knows what else. But he really wants to step back into space. It's a big commitment of time, so that's really on him. And again, that comes to us from Kathleen Kennedy via the good folks over at IndieWire. So it's finally confirmed. No more predicting, no more whatever. That Rian Johnson trilogy that was going to happen, done. And I'll tell you what, they've known it's been done for, I'm going to say years. They've known for a long time this wasn't going to happen. But they were just going to take their time, and then kind of drop it in a piece of news like this. So it just very quietly comes in and goes, but they've officially said it. So there it's done. Now, on the Taika Waititi stage, a movie that Kathleen Kennedy has said repeatedly was the next film up. This is the next one. On that, Kathleen Kennedy gave a little bit more insight into what's going on there. And apparently, according to her, it's still happening. So they say. She didn't have many concrete updates to offer on the Taika Waititi project, but promised that the film is still moving forward. Taika is still working away, she said. He's writing the script himself. He doesn't really want to bring others into that process, and I don't blame him. He has a very, very, very unique voice, so we want to protect that. And, Jonathan? And that's what he's doing. But we're going to make that one day. Oh my God. Those are 2 words you never want to hear about a movie you're hoping to see get made. One day. It's gone from Taika's our next one up to one day. One day. I'll go on the record right now. This Taika Waititi movie isn't happening. Taika Waititi movie's not happening. It ain't gonna happen. They're gonna employ now the same strategy. Now listen, no one's given me that information. Let me be clear about this, okay? I'm not saying I got insider information from Disney or Lucasfilm saying that this movie's been canceled. This is just me as a fan, just as another fan, looking at the information in front of us and then making a speculative guess. But my speculative guess is, based on the history of Lucasfilm, is my guess at this point is like the Rian Johnson thing. I no longer believe this thing's gonna happen. And I think that's a shame. I think that's a shame because, granted, Thor Love and Thunder was not peak Taika Waititi. But whereas we movie fans have these amazingly annoying blinders where we can't see anything beyond what was the last thing we watched, Taika Waititi is an Academy Award-winning, brilliant storyteller and filmmaker. Granted, I'm with you that I think Thor Love and Thunder was a step backwards. I'm on that. I agree. It was a step backwards, 100%. But all this other work that has been nothing short of staggeringly brilliant has not suddenly disappeared. Not to mention, some of his Star Wars television directing has been the best Star Wars television directing they've had, him and Bryce Dallas Howard. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I am, for one, regardless of the hiccup that was Thor Love and Thunder, I have been very excited about seeing what Taika Waititi was going to do here. Because, man, if he could bring, like, a cross between a Wilder People and Jojo Rabbit with a bit of the snark of What We Do in the Shadows, which is still to this day one of the best shows on TV going right now. I think that could have been utterly brilliant, and you saw a little bit of that formula of his in the episodes of Mandalorian that he directed. He's fantastic, but I at this point think that's probably not going to happen now. Anyway, Chris, it sounds like Kathleen Kennedy has now put a knife in it. Yeah. The Rian Johnson trilogy is now done.
Although knives are out.
The knives are out. Well said. Well said. But she's leaving the door open, saying she would still like to work with him again someday. Again, whether you loved or hated The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson is an Academy-nominated, brilliant filmmaker. Anyway, what do you think about these 2 pieces of news, both the Rian Johnson and the Taika Waititi?
I mean, the Rian Johnson one, the writing's been on the wall for a while, right? And there's always been this, maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll pursue this other trilogy. And it seems like, that just wasn't going to happen here. Kind of a shame, because I know I'm one of the people in the minority. I did like what he was setting up in Last Jedi. I thought a lot of that was really, really great. I thought there were some really interesting concepts there that I would have loved to have explored. But hey, that doesn't seem to be what the majority of people want. Rise of Skywalker seems to also not be what the majority of people wanted.
Oh my God, that was so bad.
Some swings and roundabouts, right? He's an incredibly, incredibly talented filmmaker who is busy with Poker Face, with his Knives Out universe, with tons of other stuff. He's wonderful. And what he and Taika share, too, is they have a wonderful, wonderful, long list of films that they've done that are incredible. You look back to things like Brick. You look back
Brick is so good.
Brick is so good and so underrated. He does wonderful, wonderful films. Looper is so good. And Taika Waititi, Thor: Love and Thunder, I've talked about on this show. It wasn't my cup of tea, but so many people really enjoyed it still. They had a really fun time. It didn't bomb at the box office by any means. There were people who thought this is a really fun look at Thor and I like this new chapter for him. And again, Taika has this extensive list of incredible work. Eagle versus Shark. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
I forgot about
Good.
that.
And I don't understand why we allow one film that we maybe don't completely resonate with. And I'm guilty of this too, I'm sure. But I'm not sure why we allow one film that maybe has some missteps to completely dictate somebody's career. Because we as fans seem to really, really just jump and turn on people so quickly. And it's really disheartening. We all have bad days at the office, right? We all underperform constantly in our own lives. And I just don't understand why we don't extend that same grace to these creators. It's really fucking hard to make movies. It's really hard.
Yeah.
They're so subjective. There's so many moving parts. So many things ultimately are out of your control. And I know I can be pretty harsh on this show, but I just think we should give folks a little extra time here to figure out their stuff. I hope the Taika film is still happening. It definitely rings of the James Gunn DC Marvel crossover. Definitely maybe, right?
Yeah.
It has that kind of fixin' to do vibe. But I would really, really like to see what he's done because like you said, his directing in the Star Wars universe has been so fun. His presence in the Star Wars universe has been so fun. So I hope that it comes to fruition, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
All right, guys, question is for you. Apparently now we got some more information about what's going on with Rian Johnson and Taika Waititi. They're saying the Taika Waititi thing will still happen one day. I don't personally buy it. And the Rian Johnson trilogy is officially dead. What do you think about that? Do you think the Taika one will actually happen someday? Do you think that Rian Johnson will make another Star Wars movie someday? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, let's talk about this, shall we? Mario is ruling the world right now. Now, we're going to get into the incredible box office success that Mario's been having, and it has been significant and huge, but we'll get to that in just a little bit later. Now, some of you may remember, not long before the Mario Brothers movie came out, actor Pedro Pascal, who kind of was dominating everybody's televisions for a while, being in both The Last of Us and Mandalorian, he hosted Saturday Night Live. And they did one of the best fake commercials they've done in a while with their Mario Brothers movie, brought to you by the folks at HBO. It's a me, Mario. Which is as good of an Italian accent as anybody in the Mario movie actually did. But still, I digress. So at a recent event, Jack Black, who of course does the voice of Bowser, and giving us a song that I will boycott the Oscars if it is not nominated for Best Song at the Academy Awards next year, with his Princess Peach's song. If you haven't seen the movie, trust me, it's they already should be engraving the winner name on that Oscar for next year for Best Song. Jack Black, they were talking about him about the future of his character, the main villain, right? Bowser. And he said this and offered this up that I think got a lot of fans excited. He said the following: "It's not a given that Bowser will return, you know. I did a few Kung Fu Panda movies and it was a different villain every time. They may do the same thing," Black told GameSpot. What if there is a more powerful, more evil villain? Then I may need to be turned to the good side to help Mario and the rest to defend our universe against some other unseen force of evil. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Wario. Pedro Pascal is Wario. A little bit of a spoiler alert here. The one thing out of all the glorious cameos and appearances that happened in the Mario Brothers, Wario and Waluigi were two of the characters that don't show up, so you don't see them in it. So this idea, now, once that Mario skit happened on Saturday Night Live, there was that idiotic fan petition that's like, recast Chris Pratt with Pedro Pascal as Mario.
Right now.
Yeah, like right now. Do it right now. It's like, okay, we as fans, including myself, we do some dumb things sometimes. That was a dumb thing, but it was just mostly it was 95% in fun, right? Because that was an incredible sketch. And listen, I'm going to tell you right now, again, no insider information. I would bet $10 that this is going to happen.
$10?
I would bet.
Oh my God.
Maybe not 100. Maybe not 100. But I would bet $10.
Wow.
That this is going to happen, that they're going to get Wario in the sequel, and they're gonna find a way just because of this to get Pedro Pascal to do the thing. By the way, can I tell a short little story?
No.
No. And by the way, that's not enough for a combo at any fast food place.
$10?
Yeah, so that's not even interesting. Make it 15 and I'll take that bet.
I'm gonna tell you a little story about Ray and how much he values money. Okay, we were visiting the Campea
Is this the
Ranch.
story you're about to talk about? Or is this a new story?
No, this is it.
This is another why Ray is single story, right?
This is Baloney Jim.
Oh, okay.
So me, Ray, and we were up visiting the Campea Ranch in Canada a couple years ago, and we decided to take a drive to Niagara Falls. And going from where my family lives to Niagara Falls, you're driving through a lot of backcountry, right? To get between Hamilton to Niagara Falls. And we're driving down this dark highway one night, and out of nowhere, along the side of this highway, where there's no houses, no anything, there's this one decrepit, broke down house.
Yep.
And it's dark. And Ray is just like, he just sees the house, he's like, nope. And we're driving by, right? I said, Ray, what if I gave you $100 to go in and stay the night in that house? And Ray's like, $100? He's like, fuck you. You got to give me life-changing money to go in there and stay that. $100? That won't even get you whatever combo you're getting. I need life-changing money to go and stay in that
I ain't
house.
staying with
That's
crackhead
reasonable.
Jim.
And that
Yeah.
crackhead Jim,
And
right?
blowjob Bill.
That's where you got Baloney Bill.
It wasn't blowjob Bill. It was.
It was blowjob because
No.
blowjob Bill gives blowjobs. For,
Oh, is that what he
Yeah.
does?
and
crackhead
crackhead Jim
Jim.
does crack.
No, it's like baloney something
Thank you
and
for
No,
crackhead
there's no
Jim.
bologna involved.
Together, they're unstoppable.
I mean, some of it could taste like bologna, I guess.
Oh my
I've never done it. I mean,
It can, and that's not a good thing.
No. No.
Oh my God, it's
Get
crackhead
bologna
Jim
Bill
and,
some
and
pineapple
blowjob
juice.
Bill.
Jesus.
Run.
Oscar Mayer, sponsor us.
zip your pants up.
Mo would have some coffee here.
Monday, baby. It's Monday.
What were you even talking
I
about?
don't know. You made a dumb bet. That's all it was. $10.
We're talking about if the world
about-
is ready to be sexually attracted to
All right,
Wario.
that's-
Okay? And we're not. I am not. Don't do this to me. They already did this with Scrooge McDuck, making David Tennant the voice of
Scrooge
him.
McDuck.
I don't want to be confused watching my cartoons.
Look, he kind of looks like Wario already.
How dare you?
All right.
He's kind of there.
I'll take
Get
that
out
bet.
of here right now.
If I could get an all-you-can-eat shrimp dinner, I'll take that bet.
No. I'll go from 10 to 15. I will go. Now, look, I'm saying I wouldn't put $100
There's
on it.
inflation. You got to go at least 20.
I actually agree with you. I actually think he's perfect for Wario.
I
Why not?
think he could absolutely
It's a
be
name.
Wario.
He's popular right now. Strike the iron while it's hot. I mean, he's everyone. What they call him, internet's daddy.
Yeah,
They
he's
call him
the internet's daddy.
He's such a cool guy. It seems like everything I've seen him on, he seems very fun. Seems perfect for this.
Well, the other story is, did you guys see who Anya Taylor-Joy pitched to play Waluigi?
Who?
Morgan Freeman.
What?
I don't know why no one picked up on that story, because to me that's like the crazier
Oh my
story.
God.
I could see that too, like an evil Morgan Freeman voice. I could totally see that.
Well.
And listen,
Luigi.
hey, Morgan Freeman's done voices in the Illumination Lego. Well, he was in the Lego
Right, he
movie.
was a
which
wizard,
was-
right?
What's that?
He was a wizard, right?
That's right.
Or you could always go back to the good old Mark Hamill as Waluigi.
You just modify. Look, if you do a cross between Mark Hamill's trickster voice and Joker voice, you could have a pretty intriguing Waluigi.
I'm still amazed when I hear Mark Hamill and I find out it's him that did the voice. Like
He's so
I was
good.
blown away when I found out he was Joker's voice. For the longest time, I didn't know that. Like in the animated series.
Did you
or
ever
once
see him as trickster?
No,
in
I
the
don't
live
know who
action.
that character is.
It's hilarious.
That was fun. Anyway, all right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about
Go off the
Jack
rails
Black's pitch here that Pedro Pascal should do the voice for? I'm telling you, I actually think there's a legitimate chance of this happening. Do you think it could? Whatever you guys think, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that all down, let's move on to our mint moment. I'm sorry.
You'll never eat bologna again.
Oh
You
my
can't
God.
spell Mark Hamill without ham.
let's move on to our Mint Mobile hotline question of the day.
Please keep
If you
sponsoring
guys
us.
have a question for the show and like to hear your voice, go ahead and call our number at 951-268-4259. And today we got a question here about what kind of direction should Star Wars take with their stories? Check it out.
Hey, John. With all these announcements and cancellations of Star Wars movies, do you think that Star Wars should even still be married to try and make new trilogies? Or do you think they should be more okay with allowing directors to make one-shot movies in different time periods in different parts of the galaxy and not make them have to make a long, interconnected story? Thanks.
All right, thanks a lot for calling that in. And yeah, that's a really interesting question because I think when all of us think about Star Wars, we think in terms of sagas, right? The Skywalker saga, the original trilogy, the sequel trilogy, the prequel trilogy, the story of Mandalorian and its shared connected stories with Ahsoka and Book of Boba Fett and whatever. We think in terms, but lest we forget, they've had some really good success with kind of like one-shots as well. Rogue One, while connected to the overall Star Wars universe, of course, Rogue One was a fabulous, fabulous Star Wars movie. One shot. Boom. Done. Loved it. Sort of done. Because then they did Andor. But still. Solo, which is a movie I don't think they ever should have made, but I still thought it was a damn entertaining movie. I thought it was a really good movie. So they've had success with that. The Star Wars universe is so big and so vast that whenever we talk about it, though, we always talk about the next trilogy, the next saga. Where do they pick up the story? And honestly, I kind of see it the same way that I see it with comic book movies. You know, for a long time, all anybody wants to do is, how does that comic book movie tie in to the 15 other comic book movies? How does this comic book movie tie into 75 other movies? Everybody wants to talk about comic book movies in terms of shared cinematic universe or standalone films. And for the longest time, for years, I've been saying it's not an either or. You can do both and. The comic books themselves have done both. They don't just do connected stories and they don't just do one-shot stories. They do both. And they mix them in together and they tell whether you call it what ifs or Elseworlds or whatever you want to call it. I think in the world of Star Wars, you know what's a really good example of this? What is that anthology animated series they did a while ago where you had the Samurai Jedi? Visions, right. Which I think they just dropped a trailer for the next thing of Visions, right? Mm-hmm. So like Visions was a great example of that to me, that here's some great one-shot little stories. Boom. And some of them were awful, but some of them were great.
I love them.
Some of them were really great. A couple of them were really stupid, but a couple of them were fantastic. And I think that kind of shows that that's where their balance should be. I think they should be looking at, you know, hey, maybe James Mangold's Origins of the Jedi thing, maybe that can become a new saga. Sure, that's great. But I hope they don't abandon the idea of doing just some, hey, you know what? With the world and the universe that is Star Wars, you literally can tell any kind of story you want. And it doesn't have to connect into everything else. It can just be, you can just tell the story of, you know, some, I don't know, bantha farmer on some outer rim planet that gets into trouble with his local bank trying to take his farm. Look, I'm not saying I want to see that movie, but I'm just as an example. You can tell those stories. So the answer for me is I hope, and what I think they should do is find a balance between the two. Get in some great storytellers, tell some one-shots, make sure you put in some planning, something you've not done very well in the past, put in some planning for some new sagas, and just mix it up. Treat the Star Wars universe like it's a universe. And I think you can have some success. Chris, the question's coming up. You know, where do we think their attention is going to be? What should their attention be on as Star Wars moves forward, especially coming out of Celebration? How do you see it?
I mean, it's nice to see them putting focus on putting them on screen, on a big screen, right?
Yeah.
It's nice to see them talking about movies. If they come to fruition or not, that's, you know, still to be decided. But I do like the mix of following, you know, sagas as well as one-offs, right? I loved Visions. I was so into that show. And I want nothing more than a feature-length film contain story, be done with it, of La Pinocho. The Lepi, the rabbit
Right.
Jedi. I thought that story was so cool, and I want more of that. The lone samurai kind of Jedi story that we have, or Sith rather, at the beginning of Visions. That is fantastic. All of those little capsule episodes that happen in Visions, for the most part, are really, really amazing. And I think that's the kind of thing that you should pursue is how can you play, and I always say this, how can you play within this sandbox, but make it interesting and make it your own and not connect it to the Skywalkers, right? There are so many other people in this galaxy far, far away. Why do we constantly treat it like a Charles Dickens novel where everyone is interconnected? I don't find that enjoyable all the time.
Right.
I don't need to know that somebody is your secret grandpa or you know this other person.
Secret grandpa.
I'm hiding
Secret grandpa. Like, I don't need to know that.
Blowjob Jim, you're my grandfather. Yeah.
Give me the
grandpa
whole
lives in
theories,
that
you
cat.
cowards. But like, I think there's so much other stuff. When we have, I mean, if you look at hardcore Star Wars fans too, they know so much lore, right? They know so much about different species and like planetary habits and how worlds are built. Why are we not exploring all of that stuff as opposed to someone just getting to seem snarky, sitting next to me being like, oh, that's a such and such and their whole system of belief is this? Cool. Give me a movie on that. Allow fans to get really excited about those kinds of things where it's just kind of like little knowledge they might have from the books that, you know, may or may not be canon anymore. Let's do that. I know, reading, it's wild.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about that? How do you think their approach should be when going to Star Wars? Like focus on sagas, focus on more one-shots, a little bit of a balance. However you guys would approach it, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, before we go to our break, it's a little bit of game time, I think, here. We haven't done a game of over-under in a while, so that is what we're going to do. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a game of over-under here. It is going to be Chris Carr versus Jonathan Voico versus Ray Ora. And we have picked, I jumped onto the community tab a little while ago, a little bit earlier, and I asked our beloved channel members, first of all of you who are channel members, thank you for being channel members. And I asked our channel members, hey, if you want to be represented by one of our competitors, let me know who you want representing you. So, our channel member, Victor Rodriguez, in this game will be represented by Ray Ora. Our channel member, K Major, will be represented by Chris Carr.
K Major, why would you pick that?
And our channel member, Way, will be represented by Jonathan Voico. And if your person wins the game, you are going to get a Funko Pop that the crew in here autographs, and we'll send it off to you. Ray will be in touch with you if your representative wins. So, here's how the game goes. I'm going to give a statement. The competitors will decide whether they think something is over another. Do we have the thumbs paddles distributed? Everybody's got their thumb paddles? All right. So here we go. Taylor, keep careful accounting.
So it's thumb up for what?
Over. Yeah. Real complicated. Real complicated.
It's like above, so thumb is like pointing.
I thought we were playing Secret Grandpa.
Deductive reasoning is fantastic.
Or like this. Is that an answer?
If we're just,
All right.
All right.
Here we go. Our first question of the day is this. You can bring it up on the screen there. How many episodes of Game of Thrones was Pedro Pascal in? How many episodes, speaking of Waluigi and Pedro Pascal, how many episodes of Game of Thrones was Pedro Pascal in? Over or under 6.5? Over or under 6.5? And your answers in 3, 2, 1. Ray says over. Jonathan and Chris say under. The answer is over. Pedro Pascal appeared in 7 episodes
Watch the
of Game
damn
of
series, man. Come on.
7 episodes in season 4. In season 4. So Ray races out to the lead. He's up 1-0. All right. We move on to question 2 of 7. And our next one.
I'm gonna answer the way Ray does it, and then it'll be a tie.
Our next question is this. How much money did the original 1993 Super Mario Brothers movie make on its opening weekend?
Come on now.
Over or under 6.5 million? How much money did the original 1993 Super Mario Brothers movie make on its opening weekend? Over or under 6.5 million? And your answers in 3, 2, 1. Put up the paddles. Jonathan is saying over. Ray and Chris are saying under.
just on principle.
The answer is over. The movie, the 1993 version of Mario Brothers, made $8.5 million on its opening weekend, on its way to making a worldwide total of $20 million.
There you go.
I didn't think they counted box office back then.
Back in 1993.
That's broke me.
Did they have money back then? All right. So Jonathan and Ray are now tied with one apiece. Chris is only behind by one. All right, we move into question 3. Our third question is, how many episodes did Grand Admiral Thrawn appear in for Star Wars Rebels? How many episodes did Grand Admiral Thrawn appear in? Thrawn? That should say Thrawn. Appear in for Star Wars Rebels, over or under 7.5. And your answer in 3, 2, 1. Paddles. Jonathan and Chris say over. Ray says under. And the answer is over. Grand Admiral Thrawn appeared in 10 episodes of the third season's 22 episodes. So, I think right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Taylor, but I think Jonathan's in the lead with 2. Ray is in second and tied with second with Chris. Each Ray and Chris have 1. All right. We move on to what do we got now? Question 4? Okay, question 4 is this. How many combined Oscar nominations does Rian Johnson and Taika Waititi have? How many combined Oscar nominations do Rian Johnson and Taika Waititi have, over or under 3.5? And your answers in 3, 2, 1. Ray and Jonathan say under. Chris says over. The answer is over.
All right,
because he got nominated for a short.
That's right. He did get nominated for a
This
short.
is going to be a trick question. I'm like, it's going to be under.
They have a combined 5 Oscar nominations, actually. 2 screenplay nominations for Rian Johnson and 3 nominations, including a short film nomination for Taika Waititi. So between the two of them, they actually have 5 Academy Award nominations. So Chris and Jonathan are now tied in the lead with 2. Ray is only 1 behind with 1. We got 3 questions left. It's anybody's game. The next question we have here is,
Yeah.
how many writer credits are there on the new Super Mario Brothers movie? How many people have writing credits on the new Super Mario Brothers movie? Over or under 2.5? And your answers in 3, 2, 1. Answers up. All 3 say over, and the answer is under. The only credited writer on the Super Mario Brothers movie is Matthew Fogel, who also wrote Lego Movie 2.
But it had 3 directors, I think.
It may have. I think it did have 3. Or no, it had 2 directors.
That's what.
Okay.
No, 3. I think it's listed in.
Was it
IMDb.
3? I thought it was 2. You might be right. But writers, it was just 1.
Dang, that's where I went wrong.
So the score stays the same. Chris and Jonathan in the lead with 2. Ray still has 1. All right. We move into the second last question. And that one is this. How much money did the highest grossing John Wick movie, John Wick, which came in second at the box office this weekend, how much money did the highest grossing John Wick movie make at the box office? Over or under 350 million?
This is Lifetime?
Just talked about
Yep.
this.
The highest grossing John Wick lifetime box office, over or under 350 million. And your answers in 3, 2, 1. Ray says under. Chris says
This
under.
is where I fell behind.
Jonathan says over. And the answer is under. John Wick 3 made $328 million at the box office. So John Wick 4 should pass that, become the biggest one. All right.
I think we're all tied.
No.
What?
She moved ahead.
Yeah, Chris now has 3.
okay.
Yeah, it's me.
Jonathan
Sorry,
and
Chris.
Ray both have 2 as we head into the final question. All right, final question. If Chris gets this right, she is the winner. And the question is, in The Little Mermaid, how many tentacles does Ursula have? Over or under 7.5? In The Little Mermaid, how many tentacles does Ursula have? Over or under 7.5? And your answer in 3, 2, 1. Paddles up. Ray says under. Jonathan says under. Chris says under. And the answer, which means no matter what, right or wrong, Chris wins. The answer is under. Ursula has 6 tentacles. She is technically a squid and not an octopus. Your winner, Chris Carr.
I never Mower win.
So,
Aw.
according to my chart here, that means K Major. Congratulations to our
K
channel member,
Major.
K Major.
Yay.
Ray will be in touch with you soon
Or not.
to or not, to arrange for you to get an autographed Funko Pop. So, Chris, is that your?
I've only won, I think, with Kaylee's help.
Oh,
We were
that's
doing
when
movie
the team
quotes.
won.
Yeah.
So
She
congratulations
was so
to
good at
Chris
it.
and congratulations to K Major.
Yeah.
All right, and hopefully you guys played along at home as well. And K Major, you'll be getting contacted by Ray soon. All right. Guys, with all that down, before we move on with our show here today, we're going to take just a second and thank a couple of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our good friends at Fume and the glorious folks at Manscaped. Guys, we want to take a minute and thank the sponsor of today's video, Fume. Listen, cold turkey may be great on sandwiches, but there is a better way to break your habits. And we're not talking about some weird mind voodoo from your crazy neighbor or putting Vaseline on your feet under your socks. No, we're talking about our sponsor, Fume, and they look at the problem in a different way. Not everything in a bad habit is wrong, so instead of a drastic, uncomfortable change, why not just remove the bad from your habit? And Fume is an innovative, award-winning device that does just that. Instead of electronics, Fume's is completely natural. Instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air, and instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses all-natural, delicious flavors. Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, giving your fingers a lot to do, which is helpful for de-stressing and anxiety while breaking your habit. When I first got my Fume, I couldn't believe how beautiful the design was. It's perfectly weighted, and when I breathed it in the first time, I was blown away by just how fresh it tasted. Fume has served over 100,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, and there's no reason that can't be you. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com and use the code Campea to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com and use the code Campea to save an additional 10% off your order today. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, Manscaped. Gentlemen, if you didn't already know, it's tax season here in the US, and you know what that means? It means that Manscaped is here to make sure your paperwork is done and your boys downstairs are having fun. Make sure you spend your tax return money on the important things in life, like family, friends, and ball deodorant. Join the 8 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code Campea. Guys, you know I love all my Manscaped products, from the body wash to the lawnmower, an elegant tool for a more enlightened age. So what better way to invest your tax return than into yourself? Manscaped has the full package from head to toe to make sure you get your money's worth this April. The Performance Package 4.0 is the ultimate bundle you need to reinvent yourself and your confidence. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer is the star of the show, offering a precise shave on all your widest hedges, equipped with an LED light so you can navigate in and out of those difficult areas with ease. The Performance Package 4.0 now includes Manscaped's brand new Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer. And don't forget, for all my international friends out there with a little bit of scruff, Manscaped now has beard products. The start of spring also marks the start of Testicular Cancer Awareness Month in April. Manscaped has partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to bring awareness to testicular cancer, men's health, and early cancer detection. So get 20% off plus free shipping with the code Campea at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code Campea at manscaped.com. Don't just get your money back this year, get your swagger back too with Manscaped. And thank you to our friends at Fume and Manscaped for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Remember, guys, when you check out and support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So if you go down to the description of this video, you'll find links and promo codes to our sponsors. And thank you again to Fume and Manscaped. All right, guys, with that down, let's go back over to our Mint Mobile hotline question, shall we? Because we got a question here about the upcoming Joker sequel. Check it out.
Hey, John and crew. So, since Joker 2 has wrapped up filming, do you think there's a possibility of them moving up the release date from October 2024? Thanks, and bring on the Vaping.
All right, thanks a lot for calling that in. Hey, guys, remember, when you call into our Mint Mobile hotline, make sure you leave your name there. I want to give you a shout out. Anyway, yeah, so if you guys haven't followed, I think it was last week or two, sometime in the last couple of weeks, the director of Joker 2, who also happened to be the director of Hangover and the first Joker, went online to announce that they've finished principal photography. They finished shooting the movie. It's now a wrap. Now, of course, they've got the process of post-production. They got to do all the editing, sound mixing, Foley, all the things that go into making a movie. Targeting, of course, their 2024 release date, which I believe is October 2024. Taylor, if you can do a fact check on that, but I believe that is when it's supposed to come out, which is, of course, well over a year away. So what are we in? April, May, June, July, August, September, October? I mean, we're talking 18 months away.
October 4th right now.
All right. So we're talking almost 18 months away to this movie. So the question comes in is an understandable one. Well, hey, if they're finished shooting the movie now, and this isn't exactly going to be a visual effects heavy project, what are the chances that could move that release date up? All right. Here's the thing about this. And we've mentioned this before, but there's a little bit of a twist with this one. So first, the standard answer. The standard answer is you have to remember that the studio was not surprised that they wrapped filming. When they go in and film these movies, remember, minutes equals tens of thousands of dollars. All right. These are millions and millions and millions of dollars at stake here. When they go to shoot a movie, they don't just go, hey, everybody, let's get together Monday and let's shoot as much as we can. And then we'll get together Tuesday and shoot as much as we can. They literally have somebody on board called a line producer. And they have a staff where all their job is kind of them and their staffs and the people who work below the line. They go through the script. They go through the notes with the director, all that kind of stuff. And they literally schedule out to the hour but everything they're going to shoot, how they're going to shoot it, where they're going to shoot it, and how much time they have to shoot it by, and all the things they're going to need for that shoot. And they do that and schedule every frickin' minute of every frickin' day. Now, of course, sometimes movies fall behind schedule. And the reason that's a cardinal sin is because every minute you're late, you're costing the studio a lot of money. So basically, Warner Brothers knew before they started shooting this movie that this movie would be done. Here we are at the beginning of April. They knew that's when it would be done. And yet, knowing that's when the movie would finish shooting and however much time they need to do the post-production on it, they decided that October of 2024 was the right release date. Remember, they don't set release dates based on when they think the movie will be done. They set release dates with the question of where can we put this movie that it has its best chance of success? And they picked, for whatever their reasons are, October of 2024. That's their time. They think that's the best chance for it to succeed. And so it really has nothing to do with the fact that it's finished shooting already. Now, that all being said, that's the standard answer. Here's the twist. In the last couple of years, more than normal, Warner Brothers seems to be very liberal with their release dates. They seem to be more in the last couple of years than traditionally. I mean, studios always move release dates, sure, but it's not common that they do it. Warner Brothers in the last number of years have seen to be a little bit more flexible with moving release dates around here and there. So while I do not believe they will move the release date for Joker 2 because they finished shooting it, because they always knew when they were going to finish shooting it and they knew when the release date was going to be. Because of how flexible Warner Brothers has been, I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't put it past them at some point to go, you know what? That first movie made $1 billion. And Lady Gaga's real hot right now. Maybe we put this thing out in the summer. Maybe we move it up by 3 or 4 or 5 months and put it out in the summer, earlier in the year kind of thing. Again, I don't know that they will. I think they'll keep it where it is. And I think they're going to build a marketing campaign very specifically around that release date. But being loosely a comic book movie, and being that Warner Brothers has been flexible lately, I would give it a 15% chance that they move it up. A solid 15% chance, which means for the most part, I think they're going to keep where it is. Anyway, Chris, you know, they've done the principal photography. The best of our knowledge, there's not going to be a lot of visual effects in this. So it's not like they need a year of CGI to do. What do you think the chances are that they could actually move the date for this movie up?
I actually think it's pretty slim because, you know, October, really late fall, more like November, December with the cutoff at the 31st, is when you're showing your Oscar potential nominated films, right? And they are going to absolutely do a big prestige push with this film. The first one had fantastic critical success. Joaquin Phoenix went on to win an Oscar. He won a Joker. He won an Oscar for his role as the Joker. So I think they're going to keep it in that area. You know, we talked a lot about how The Batman was such a phenomenal film. And I think if it had been released later on in the year or earlier the previous year, it would have had a lot more potential of getting nominated for things such as the score and everything.
Yeah.
Voters, their minds get filled with new movies so quickly. It very much is a what have you done for me lately kind of thing when it comes to movies. If we haven't seen something recently, we usually don't vote for those movies. So I think keeping that in that kind of fall sweet spot is going to be best for them if they do want that, awards prestige buzz.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think? Do you think there could be a possibility that Warner Brothers will move up the release date for Joker 2? I agree with Chris. I think it's pretty slim, but it is possible. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and leave us your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's get back over to some news that came out at Star Wars Celebration, shall we? And that is this. Now, look, we have known for a while, ever since Ahsoka made her guest appearance on Mandalorian and uttered the name Thrawn. Everybody's been wondering, who's going to play Thrawn? Who's going to play Thrawn? Is it Lars Mikkelsen, who did the voice of Thrawn in the animated series? Now, they have gotten other actors to play characters from Rebels other than those who did the voice of those characters. So maybe yes, maybe no. What is the name of the guy who did the voice for the audiobooks of the Thrawn? Is it Mark Thompson? I think it was Mark Thompson. By the way, if you guys have never listened to the audiobooks of the Thrawn series, there's 2 canon Thrawn trilogies. There's the Thrawn trilogy, not Heir to the Empire. That's non-canon. Some of the greatest Star Wars books ever written, by the way. But then there's the Thrawn trilogy, and then there's the Ascendancy trilogy. And an actor by the name of Mark, I believe it's Mark. It is Mark Thompson. Yeah. An actor by the name of Mark Thompson does the voice of Grand Admiral Thrawn in those audiobooks. And listen, whatever you think about Star Wars, they are the top of the heap when it comes to producing audio novels because they put full production. It's like you're listening to an old radio drama. Like they put full with the music and sound effects and everything. And Mark Thompson as the voice of Grand Admiral Thrawn is fantastic in it. Utterly fantastic. And I'll go so far as to say this. Does anybody want to, and I asked this isn't a rhetorical question, honestly, does anybody think there is a more iconic, better, non-canon era character than Grand Admiral Thrawn? I mean, I remember when those books came out, which was the Heir to the Empire books, which is, for those of you who didn't read them, that's why Ahsoka says, he's the heir to the Empire. Ooh, she said the thing. The Heir to the Empire books shook the Star Wars fandom world because, I mean, they were the first kind of books that were things happening outside of the movies that really made a serious impact, and they're fantastic. Now, the Grand Admiral Thrawn in canon now is different from the Heir to the Empire. The Heir to the Empire trilogy, even though it's some of the greatest Star Wars books ever written, they're not canon. So that's different. But he is a glorious character, just an unbelievable character because he is mortal, yet seemingly invincible. And it's all based on intellect. Those are the characters and the villains that always scare me most. They're the ones who are smarter than everybody else. And Grand Admiral Thrawn is smarter than everybody else. He's smarter than everybody in the room. To a degree, he even kind of outsmarted the Emperor. If you listen to or read the Thrawn novels, he even kind of outsmarted the Emperor a little bit. I mean, the Emperor went kind of toe to toe with him mentally, but he even got close to that. He deduced everything about Vader and Anakin Skywalker and all this kind of stuff. He is a fabulous character. Well, now the official news has come out. It is indeed Lars Mikkelsen is playing the character of Grand Admiral Thrawn. And I forgot to bring the picture with me, damn it. There was even a picture of him that they showed at Star Wars Celebration, but I found the picture online. I was going to show it here, but I forgot. Anyway, looks good. He looks good. Lucasfilm has now confirmed Lars Mikkelsen will play Grand Admiral Thrawn in the live-action Disney Plus TV shows, bringing one of the greatest villains of the expanded universe to life. Lars Mikkelsen is Grand Admiral Thrawn. There he is coming out on stage, and a lot of people were very excited. Now, of course, this means the Mikkelsen boys, because yes, he is indeed Mads Mikkelsen's brother. The Mikkelsen's boys are now both will be in Star Wars live action. Mads, of course, was in Rogue One, and now Lars is going to be. in Ahsoka, but I have a feeling he's probably going to end up being the villain of that Dave Filoni Mandalorian movie too. I think he might end up being the big bad of all that. They might even reveal. Look, nobody's told me this. Is just me as a fan speculating. I would be surprised if we get introduced to Grand Admiral Thrawn in the season finale of Mandalorian this year. Because, I mean, why not? Nothing connects so far in this season, but they could do that. I'll tell you what, man. I love this character. I've loved every iteration of the character. The way they used him in Rebels was absolutely fantastic. There is a little bit of a disconnect between the Thrawn in the books, which are also canon, and Rebels, because in Rebels, he does come across more as a clear villain. In the books, he's really not a villain. He's just chosen a side. He's chosen the Imperial side, but he's got a code of honor and a code of conduct and stuff like that. He
Those
actually
are the
does
best villains.
What's that?
Those are the best villains
Yeah.
because they are very, very steadfast in their belief system.
Yeah, and he's not particularly evil. Like he's even quite kind to people quite often in the books. But, you know, in Rebels, Rebels is an animated show. They tend to draw the lines a little more distinctly, good guy, bad guy. I hope they do, when they use him in live action in Ahsoka, I do hope they show a little bit more of that nuance. That he's not an evil character per se, but you're right. Those make some of the best antagonists. Anyway, Chris, you heard about them getting Lars Mikkelsen, which is interesting because, like we said, for the other live action iterations, they didn't go out and get the voice actress for Hera. They instead got Mary Elizabeth, and I love me Mary Elizabeth.
Same.
They didn't get the voice actress for Ahsoka. They went and got Rosario Dawson, and I love Rosario Dawson. They didn't go and get the voice actress for Sabine Wren, but she looks great. The actress who's playing her, I think she looks great in the trailers. What do you think about the decision to get Lars Mikkelsen?
Well, first of all, I mean, as of last week, he was still doing the whole, I don't know if I'm in it, which this is why I don't trust or love anyone. All of you are liars. But I'm really excited about this. Lars Mikkelsen is an actor who has proven time and time again that he works well in any medium, and he understands how to adjust for those mediums. You know, whether he is in The Witcher or whether he's in numerous Danish films and television shows, or when he's doing this voice acting here, he is incredible. And he really, really understands how to work within all of those different forms. So I'm very, very excited about this. And also, this is a character where you can see how he kind of already looks like the animated form here. He's got those cheekbones. We're just going to make him blue. We can make this work, right? Sometimes in voiceover, you're playing somebody who looks wildly different than you. And I can understand sometimes why we maybe adjust for those kinds of casting things to have somebody who meets the stature or the physicality of what you're going for, right? In voice acting, we're just trying to imbue that in with our voices. When you're on camera, you have to have a little bit of the whole meat suit package, if you will. But I think this is going to be really, really fun. I'm so excited about him. I think he's incredible. I also, though, would put in your characters who we need to see in a film, right? We've got, Darth Revan? Was that the one from Knights of the Old Republic? And then Mara Jade. Love Mara Jade.
Mara Jade's difficult, though.
It's very tricky, but because I enjoyed her.
Mara Jade, for most fans, is so connected to Luke.
Yeah.
And they've already gone a certain direction with Luke. So now you'd have to either find a way to introduce a Mara Jade and shoehorn her into the existing Luke story, or you have to just, do what they did with Grand Admiral Thrawn, which is change the story. Because remember, Grand Admiral Thrawn's story is completely changed from what it was in the Heir to the Empire.
What's Luke doing right now? He doesn't have a student. Go out, go mingle, buddy, and make it be Sebastian Stan.
Because what did they call her? The Hand of the Emperor? Yeah, the Hand of the Emperor, right? So there's a story there to tell. Maybe she's been, pull a Idiocracy or something. She's been frozen in a cryo chamber, a Captain America, if you will, for a while. And now she's woken up, confused, discombobulated. What do you mean the Emperor is gone?
Yeah.
I could do some cool
And you can
stuff there.
totally do a one-off story, too, about one of his, assassins, essentially, running around the universe.
Oh, and then have her fall in love with a Mon Calamari. Wouldn't that be
sweet?
That's
Love
another
is
one.
love.
I'm trying to think of other ones. Cad Bane was another one that they did a really good job.
So short-lived, though.
Yeah, very, very short-lived. Literally short-lived. A lot of that. But I'm telling you, Thrawn is the guy. If it wasn't for Vader in that universe, he would just himself be the ultimate Star Wars villain. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this news? They went out to get Lars Mikkelsen, who did the voice of Grand Admiral Thrawn in Rebels, to be the actor to play him. This is the first time they've done that. You can say Zeb, but Zeb was still just doing the voice. I mean, it wasn't the actor doing it. So, I mean, this is kind of a first for them. Do you like the decision? Did you have somebody else in mind? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's get into our final main topic here today, shall we? And that one is this. Mario has hit that golden question mark cube, and behold, gold has spewed forth as Mario Brothers has come out and smashed a bunch of long-standing records at the box office. Now, listen, I've said for a couple, maybe a month or two, that I believed that Mario Brothers would end up being the #1 box office movie of the year. Now, I walked back on that after seeing the movie. It's going to be huge, but I don't think it's going to be the #1 movie of the year anymore. I think the movie's good. I was super entertained by it. I really liked it, but it wasn't quite good enough. I think that it's going to get the number of repeat viewings and word of mouth. That's going to go to the #1 spot, but huge it still will be, and huge it is. Because it made, I think it was about $143 million, if I'm not mistaken, for its official opening weekend. 177 something million dollars around that for its 5-day weekend, and worldwide 300, and what was the number on that for its worldwide number?
377.
377 for its Wednesday to Saturday opening, which is not what normal movies do, but still incredible. Now that means it has broken several records. Let's go over here and take a look at the records that this thing has busted. First of all, and more immediate, it's the biggest opening weekend of 2023, passing Ant-Man 3. Its official opening weekend is $143 million, which makes it the biggest opening of the year so far. So that's check, record #1. Record #2, it is the biggest Wednesday to Sunday opening of all time. Now, of course, most movies do not have Wednesday to Sunday openings. They are Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This one was Wednesday to Sunday. It's a 5-day count. Not a ton of movies have done that, but there have been movies that have done that, and Super Mario Brothers is now the biggest of all time that's ever done it. Also, it is the biggest opening weekend for any film by Illumination, passing Minions that had a $115 million 3-day opening. And of course, Mario just totally eclipsed that with 143. It is the second biggest animated film opening in history, only behind Pixar's Incredibles 2, which made $183 million on its 3-day opening weekend. And it is also the biggest video game adaptation opening of all time. Of all time. No other video game movie has ever opened to that amount. Now, you can talk about the worldwide opening as well at 377, but it's kind of pointless to discuss the 377 because every movie opens in different territories at different times, so you can't compare apples to apples. Domestically, you can because it's domestic. But still, look at these numbers. Unbelievable, unreal, these numbers, and the kind of success that we've been saying around here that we think you could see. Again, you cannot underestimate. Every time the trailers for these things would play in theaters, the audiences would pop. You go to that Super Nintendo World at Universal, it is packed and people weeping and crying walking in there. It is literally a game franchise that has been played by 3 generations and loved by 3 generations. You're playing it, your kids are playing it, and your parents played it. I mean, it's got that kind of appeal. It's not just that we remember it. Mario's been an active, ongoing franchise forever. Mario Kart is still the most played video game in the world in the different iterations of Mario Kart. And for good reason. I mean, these kind of numbers are just staggering. Now, the big question will be moving forward is what kind of legs will it have? I think it's going to have a very good second weekend. There's not a lot that can challenge it, and word of mouth is good. I think it's going to have a very good second weekend. Will it get to $1 billion mark? Because it's very much within reach. I don't know if it will get to $1 billion or not. I think it certainly can. It just absolutely crazy numbers. Anyway, Chris, you're seeing now the results. We've all said this is going to be big. This is going to be huge. To which every time we said it, I had so many people online telling me, nobody cares about a Mario movie. Nobody's going to go watch Mario. Anyway, what do you think about the numbers, and which one of these numbers is kind of standing out to you the most as being maybe surprising?
Well, the big thing here is, I mean, the numbers just don't lie, right? So many people were so interested in seeing this, and Universal knew that going into it. They knew this was going to be something that touched multiple generations. It wasn't going to be just families going out to the theaters to see this. Veronica Kwan Vanderberg, who is the president of development over at Universal, has talked about how this is such recognizable IP that they knew they were going to get a whole wide audience to come to. I think this is bananas, though, that this is like the highest grossing box office weekend for an animated film, just because when you say something like The Incredibles, right? Incredibles 2, that is a fantastic film. That's the movie I wrote my senior thesis on, was The Incredibles.
I love both Incredibles movies.
It's so wonderful. And we always talk about, Pixar being the really the standard and height of quality animation and quality storytelling, really. Even when it comes to live action films, Pixar just has their finger on the pulse of what people are going to really, really connect to. And to have a Mario movie that a lot of people feel doesn't have the best plot, to have it still really, really resonate with folks is amazing. It was so cute this weekend. I live really close to a Regal, and seeing all of the kids and also seeing all the adults dressed in full Mario cosplays as a whole family and everything to go see this movie just really, really reinforced to me that this is a movie so many people are excited about. And it was really great to just see a whole bunch of, grown adults getting their babies to dress up as Mario in a little fox costume, but with the hat still under it and everything, and how excited they were to go experience it as a family together, or just seeing, other groups of people so jazzed about seeing this movie. I play Mario Party probably once a week. There's a reason why we all keep coming back to this. They're really, really great games. And do I need a huge, big, extravagant plot to connect to it? No, I kind of just need Jack Black singing about peaches. It does it.
I wanted to bring this up too, because one of our viewers in the live chat, Reese Lindsay in the live chat, mentioned they knew what their audience wanted and they gave it to them. You hear that, Lucasfilm? I want to just touch on that for a second, because they're two different things. Like with Mario, it's a very non-story based games. So knowing what the audience was really wanting to see, that's a very basic kind of fundamental understanding. We want to see Mario. We want to see the carts. We want to hear the different lines that are spoken in the games. We want to see the references to that. We want to see so that's a basic standard thing. Pretty much all Mario people wanted to see the same thing. And that's exactly what they did. They just gave it what all Mario people wanted to see. And they did that. Now, bringing up a comparison to Lucasfilm is very, very different because, and nobody likes hearing this, and everybody thinks they're right, but everybody thinks they speak for all fandom, and you don't.
Ray does.
Ray does. I mean, it goes without saying. But, people say, they gave the audience what they wanted. But here's the problem with that is that what you want Lucasfilm to do is not what the Star Wars fan sitting 2 seats down from you wants to see them do. And what that person wants Lucasfilm to do is not the same as the Star Wars fan sitting 4 rows behind them.
Yeah, but those aren't real fans.
Yeah, unless you think what I think, you're not a real fan, right?
Yeah.
Like we as Star Wars fans, we have very diverse tastes about things we like and don't like and directions we want them to go and what we want to do, right? But it's just funny. I always hear fans say, give us what the fans want. And of course, by fans, they mean them and their circle of buddies, right? But that's the thing. We're a very diverse group. We have very different tastes. What I want from a Star Wars movie may be different from what you want for a Star Wars movie. It makes it more tricky. But for Mario Brothers, and Chris, I don't know if you'd agree with this, but for Mario Brothers, it's not as complicated of a task to ascertain what is it Mario fans want to see. To me, that's a lot simpler of a question because we are more homogenous, I think, as Mario fans than we are as Star Wars fans. I don't know. What would you say about that?
No, I would say that because also there's the idea of Mario and his friends in all of these different games are essentially just a troupe of actors putting on a play, right? Where it's just this kind of loosely woven narrative of these friends just want to hang out and tell a story, or they want to hang out and play a game, or they want to do this, right? And so I don't think we have the same expectations too, right? A lot of the Mario games are maybe me going on a quest, but it's very, very basic. I'm going to go save a princess.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do that. Or I'm going to go race. because I'm going to go race. I'm going to go play this board game because reasons. Like that's it. Whereas Star Wars, there is a very, very extensive lore. And that's not to say Mario doesn't have that. When you play games like Paper Mario, or even I would argue Luigi's Mansion, there's a lot of character development, honestly, in those about these different people who exist in this world and everything. But it's a very apples and oranges situation.
All right, guys. Question is for you. The Mario Brothers movies has hit a lot of really impressive numbers, and broken some long-standing records. What do you think is the most impressive of those? Biggest video game opening of all time, second biggest animated opening of all time, the biggest Wednesday to Sunday opening of all time? Like, whichever one you think is most impressive or surprising you, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's now move on and start taking your questions that you guys have been firing in to our tip link at streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. You guys can send in a question there, by the way, anytime, 24/7. A thought cross your mind at 9 o'clock at night, go ahead and fire it in, and we'll get around to it on the next show or open mic. But before we get to those, though, we're going to take another second here and thank a couple of more sponsors of today's show, our friends at Rocket Money and my mobile service provider, Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Rocket Money. The average person has around 12 paid subscriptions. Think about that. If you think you're only subscribed to a handful of services, you might want to double check. With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify and cancel all of your unwanted subscriptions. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want and don't even use. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as the click of a button. My wife Ann and I moved out of Burbank 2 years ago, and one of the first things I discovered when I loaded up Rocket Money was that I was still paying for a gym membership I haven't even been to in Burbank in 2 years. So stop throwing away your money. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. rocketmoney.com/Campea. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. From the gas pump to the grocery store, your utility bills and favorite streaming services, inflation is everywhere. Seriously, make it stop. Thankfully, there's one company out there that's giving you a much needed break. It's Mint Mobile. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know that ever since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've been saving almost 70% a month over my old phone plan. For people looking for extra savings this year, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Rocket Money and Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, I said it's time for your questions, so let's get on over to them. I don't think we're going to be able to get through all of them, but don't worry, I am going to be doing an open mic a little bit later this afternoon where we'll pick up on the questions that we haven't gotten around to yet. And, of course, once we get through those, we'll also be taking live questions for us. So make sure you come on back and join me for open mic later this afternoon. But for now, Chris, what do we have in the tip link?
First, we've got $20 from Anonymous.
Oh, thank you, Anonymous.
Stranger. Hey, crew, that Mando episode was bad. But looking at the positive side, the makeup and costuming are very good for all the different aliens. Thanks.
I'll tell you what, the Lizzo thing threw me off a bit. Because whereas, when I watched the episode again, Jack Black, even though his cameo kind of throws you a little bit, he's actually terrific in it.
Thank you.
He's actually, I watched it the second time now that I knew he's already there, so now I'm not going to be jarred by it. And I watched it, and it's like, that can be arranged. He's actually like really good in it. Lizzo still, she's not an actress. So hey, she's a musician,
I just love
a
her
singer.
so
They're doing the
much.
best. But I'll say this though, I didn't notice the first time I was watching. And it's a little thing that nobody else is going to care about. But she had this big elaborate kind of peacock thing in a train that was holographic. I realized that the second time I was watching it, it's like as she walks, she's wearing just her thing, but the whole train and thing is a hologram behind her that does it. I'm like, ooh, like, yeah, say what you will about the quality of some of the episodes of Mandalorian. Some of the production value in it and the art decisions they've made have been really, really good.
Yeah.
Some of them have been really quite good. So yeah, I agree. Some of it was quite beautiful to look at.
Tomorrow you're going to come in and be like, I watched that episode again.
It's my favorite
It's better than Last of Us.
It's the best thing on TV, that episode. Yeah, it's a little bit better every time. All right, what's next?
From BK Dan, I love the thumbnail. DC meets Marvel with Ray as
Now, obviously,
referee.
this was one that came in just before the end of the last episode that we did, because Ray put together this terrific thumbnail of the main show with DC, Marvel. No, not this one.
Oh, not this one.
That DC and Marvel, and then Ray in the middle did a really good job of it. Ray always does such a good job.
I'm kind of sad that you said there was an image of Thrawn, Lars being Thrawn. I wouldn't take into.
You know what? I screen captured it, and I meant to send it to you last night, and I totally missed the boat on that. All right, what's next?
From Korea Got Soul. Hey, everybody, it's my birthday.
Happy birthday! This is probably belated at this point.
My question is, if Mario's successful, are there any chances of them making a Mega Man movie or possibly a Golden Axe movie? I think these are ripe for franchises. Thanks. Ooh. Mega Man.
Probably more so Link, like a Zelda movie.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. Whenever something of a property gets some success, people think anything connected to it could be great. Mario is very unique. Listen, I'm not taking anything away from people who love Mega Man. And many of us have played Mega Man. But let's not pretend that Mega Man has had the history, legacy, and was played or as beloved by as many people as the Mario franchise. It's just a different thing altogether. And Jonathan, you mentioned, I think the one thing that comes close that's in the Nintendo repertoire is Link, is the Zelda franchise. I'd say that the success of Mario definitely improves the chances, if it's not a foregone conclusion, that Link may happen. But you know what? They'll be looking at other properties at this point, and maybe Mega Man can be that one. But I just don't think it's as much of an apples-to-apples comparison to say maybe a Link or that would be.
They could do something a la Lego movie in a Nintendo world, like a Nintendo Power kind of movie.
Yeah.
With a bunch of like cameos, something like that.
They could.
I'm sure Capcom and Sega are looking for other things. The Mega Man animated show was really, really fun. I will say that.
I never did watch it.
Oh, it was great.
I liked it too, actually.
It was really, really fun. Also, if you want a really great Mega Man video, this is so old, but Aaron Hansen, back when he was still doing his Ego Raptor videos, does a great Mega Man 2 video. It's so funny. Logan and I quote it all the time.
All right, what's next?
From Corey M, the Star Wars news has me mostly excited. The James Mangold movie especially. Don't know how I feel about the Filoni movie, though. The Mandoverse hasn't really been doing it for me lately. Who knows if we'll actually see these movies, though?
I have more faith that they'll make the Mandalorian one. I think that, because that's already a path they're going down, right? Again, it's unfortunate for them that they make the announcement at the moment that the Mandoverse is probably at its lowest point of popularity right now. As we've been talking that the numbers of Mandalorian continue to drop and all that kind of stuff. But, hey, listen, the announcement of that Ahsoka series, that trailer, which was fantastic, got a lot of people buzzing. You got Lars Mikkelsen in there. So, but look, it's all going to come down to this. It's not about the formula. It's about, does it execute? Does it deliver? And we'll see if Mandalorian season 3, because it's got 2 episodes left, Ray.
Yeah, you got
They
it.
can stick the landing.
All
They can
the way up
do
to
it.
the last 5 minutes, we're going to judge it.
Yep, post-credits going to save this season. I mean, they still can turn it around with 2 episodes to go. If the Ahsoka series is fantastic, because the trailer's fantastic, and I don't know if the series is going to be good or not, but the trailer's fantastic. If they finish this strong and the Ahsoka series is really good, that will build them a significant amount of momentum going into this movie down the line.
Did they announce anything Rogue Squadron-y? Anything at all? Anything that deals with the X-Wings and the...
No, just
Nothing
that the Patty Jenkins thing is done. And I
Give it to someone else or
I want
something.
to see that. I want to see Top Gun in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
I really want to see that. All right, what's next?
From Hitchcock is the GOAT. My way too early best of 2023 list so far. Shazam, Creed, Dungeons & Dragons, John Wick 4, and Air. Just saw Air and everyone was fantastic. It feels like Ben is back as a director and also like he has his joy back as a creator.
I still have not watched Air.
Me neither.
I wanted to see it this weekend, but Ann and I made plans and we got out of town for the weekend. But I'm going to watch either tonight or tomorrow because you know me, I'm a big Ben Affleck guy. I love Affleck. Listen, we knew it was going to happen. We knew it was going to happen, so it's not surprising. So I was prepared for it, but it is still a real bummer that Dungeons and Dragons is going to lose money. And listen, we all knew it would. We all knew it would. I mean, going into it, it was like, okay, they've got to have the mentality going in Dungeons and Dragons that they got to understand this first one's going to lose money. It doesn't matter how good the movie is, it's going to lose money. So if they go into it with the mentality that we're going to try to lay a good foundation for a new franchise to start new films, then you can be happy with it. But that movie is so good.
And Pinball. You got to watch that. That's not on your list.
It's not going to make any money.
It didn't make any money. Those are one of the rare
You
circumstances.
keep talking about Pinball.
I know, where I say that movie should have went onto Disney Plus or something just to get exposure. I hate that it's like no one just knows about it. But
was it on like ESPN 8 or something?
The Ocho.
The Ocho.
The Ocho.
But no, I'm really bummed that Dungeons and Dragons, because that is a movie that is in the 90% for the critic ratings and in the high 90s for the audience rating. It's a really great movie. It deserved better, but we all knew with the stench that was on it from the original, it wasn't going to. But still, I wish it made more money. I wish it surprised us. All right, what's next?
From Billy H. I wonder if the Rey film was partially a Disney decision. The Star Wars-themed hotel in Orlando set in this time period is losing sales like crazy, and the theme parks are themed to this era. And there's nothing going on in this era for them to market.
I mean, it is not actually the craziest thing in the world. You know, I read this great article in Deadline last week where a Hollywood analyst, like a really respected one, was saying, look, everybody thinks Disney's a movie company. They're not. Disney's a theme park company, and movies is their side hustle. Now, for people like us who are big movie fans, that doesn't sound right because they are not only movie-making company, they are the most successful maybe ever at doing it. With more of, I think they occupy at least 50% of the $1 billion club. I mean, I might be wrong about that. I didn't actually do the math, but my guess is that Disney alone probably occupies 50% of the membership of the $1 billion club. But as a theme park company that does movies as their side hustle, it's not the craziest thing in the world, but I think they would know doing another Rey movie right now, that ain't going to increase the popularity of those things. Like, look, in the world of entertainment, particularly experiential entertainment, like theme parks, you can't turn something around. Like once you come out of the gate and there's a stench on it, you're not going to turn around. And even if you greenlight a Rey movie, you know you're at least 2 to 3 years away from that movie coming out. So you got 2 to 3 more years of that thing failing. So it's not the craziest thing in the world to propose, but I don't think it is. I don't think that that's the case.
They're gonna try to sell a lot of merchandise in between that time, though.
But nobody wants Rey merchandise. And again, I say that as a big fan of Daisy Ridley. I love Daisy Ridley. I think she's fantastic. And I loved her in The Force Awakens and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is that the character of Rey represents a massive schism in the Star Wars fandom. And I don't know that you're going to fix it. I hope I'm wrong, because I would love it if they did. Anyway, we'll find out. All right, what's next?
From $230 from First Rate Nate. What?
Wow, thank you.
Just wanted to tip the 1 month savings from using Rocket Money. Thanks for all you do, and Ahsoka looks amazing.
I'll tell you what, I read this before, I saw this before we started the show today, and I'm like, everybody's going to think we planted that. We did not. Like, somebody actually wrote in, tip $230. What was the name on that again? Let me see that again. Who was it? It was First Rate Nate. Of course, thanks to our sponsor, Rocket Money.
Yeah. Is that in the App Store?
What's that?
Is that in the App Store? Rocket
Money? Yeah. It has saved me a ton of money already. So thank you so much. That is incredibly
That's really
generous of you,
sweet.
First Rate Nate. Thank you for supporting us. Thanks for checking out our sponsor. And thank you for supporting us on that level. That is incredibly generous of you, man. So thank you so much for that, dude. I hope it saves you more. Hope it saves you tons more. All right, what's next?
Damn, Nate. From Andrew G. Hi, John. With Top Gun finding a sweet spot and hitting the cultural zeitgeist, we have another insanely popular 80s property in Indiana Jones about to drop. Should it become a mega smash hit, how soon would Disney start to walk back the finality aspect?
No, I mean, look, I think there are two things that are already foregone conclusions. All right. This is the final Harrison Ford Indiana Jones. You look, Harrison Ford has all the money in the world that he can possibly spend for the rest of his life and leave to his children and to his children's children. He's good. So when he says, I don't want to do this anymore, he ain't going to do it. There's nothing you can do to convince him. There's no amount of money you could give him at this point. He's done.
I will say they are kind of playing with this, though, in that we've got the indie series potentially coming to fruition.
Well,
So
see, that's the
there's-
second thing,
Yeah,
right?
there's no end to indie. Just
The one
indie.
certainty is Harrison Ford as Indy is done.
Yeah.
The second certainty is there will be more Indiana Jones.
Are we ever going to address how future Indiana Jones lost his eye? Because when they had the Indiana Jones series before,
the young Indiana Jones, that's right.
Then when he would like be telling his stories, you're like, when did you lose an eye, man? What happened?
Maybe he does it in this movie.
That was just a gardening accident. In his later age.
That's horrible. That's why I don't garden.
Yeah.
So they're
do
going to
any
do
manual
another
labor.
Indiana Jones. They definitely will. They're going to recast Indiana Jones. They're going to tell the younger adventure, but there's already a young Indy. Yeah, they're going to throw that away. And they're going to do at some point they will, because it's just too valuable of a property, 100%. But make no mistake, Harrison Ford is done. He will never come back to this again. Now, he
Indiana
even stood
Jones
on
6.
stage at Star Wars Celebration and says, "You're not going to do this to me anymore. I'm done. You're not. You can't." What did he say? I think he literally said, "You can't kick me around anymore," or whatever. Like he's finished.
Sounds like
By the
elder
way,
abuse.
again, if you have not watched Harrison Ford in the Apple Plus show Shrinking, I cannot remember remembering loving Harrison Ford this much. It's been a while since I've loved him this much. He's so good in Shrinking. All right, what's next?
From Stubble
I like
McShave.
candy.
From Stubble McShave, it seems that Kennedy is on the way out soon. Yeah. If so, it would stand to reason that her replacement has been picked and that they were part of making the decisions on the announced movies. Otherwise, they start with 3 movies in pre-production with no input.
You know what? I'm kind of torn on this one about whether or not I believe. I mean, yeah, Kathleen Kennedy's on her way out, but I'm kind of torn on the question about whether or not they've already got her successor picked out. I'm not 100% sure that they do. Now, and then to which, if they don't, you might ask, well, why make all these plans? Because business has to go on. And as long as you're in the chair, and Kathleen Kennedy right now is in the chair, as long as you're in the chair, until the day that chair is no longer yours, you have to do the business of the company. Which means you got to continue to make plans. You got to continue to put things in motion. That's your job. And until the next person, then leave it up to the next person. Now, it would be good if they did get the next person, her successor, picked out, if they had them get together and, kind of talk things out. But until that happens, it is her job to do this. Look, when I was at AMC and I was leaving, I didn't stop making plans. Or even when I was at Claire, whatever, I didn't stop making plans 3 months before I was going to be leaving. No, you make your plans, you do the job until the day you leave. And then you leave it up to the next person to decide what to do. Everybody comes in, when you come into a job, you are already coming into a job that somebody else was doing before you. Unless it's some kind of brand new creation. But most people, when you come into a job, you're coming into a job of somebody else did. When a coach is coaching, they don't stop coaching 3 months before they leave. They coach right up until they leave, and then the next coach comes in and adapts what the coach before them was doing. So, but it's possible they've got her successor picked out, or they might just want to take more time. Remember, Bob Iger has not been back all that long, and they're going to do a real careful search this time, because last time they just went with what George Lucas wanted. They let George Lucas pick his successor. Okay, and they got Kathleen Kennedy. which, by the way, on paper was a perfectly good choice. It just didn't work out so great. So we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do. All right, what's next?
From Klein Sonier, I can envision it already. Rey Aura, struggling Jedi, Wayfarer post-purge, his defiant foe, Sleepwalker Saga.
Sleep Skywalker.
Sleep Skywalker. Dark Jedi now turned full-blown Sith who wields, lays the potato chip saber apart. Who shall behoove? Who emerges victorious? Find out in 2024, exclusively in cinemas around the world. Rey Aura versus Sleepwalker Skywalker.
Listen, I'm going to tell you this, and this is true. March was a fabulous month for movies. I think we saw 5 movies in March. Ray. Like Ray with me.
Yeah.
He didn't fall asleep in one of them.
6.
Was there 6?
Oh, no. I watched 2 extra ones.
No, but I mean, in theater with me, I think we saw 5 films together in theaters. And other than you dozed off for like a minute in one of them, like I think it was Creed, you dozed off for a minute.
Was it?
But you pretty much stayed asleep.
It was the first one we watched, Scream.
Because I've literally gone to movies with you where 10 minutes in, Ann and I would look over and Ray's got his bucket of popcorn and like this.
Yep.
And is out and stayed out for like 45 minutes.
My popcorn, baby.
But that has not happened. You've been staying awake in the movies.
Yeah, looking at my popcorn.
All right, what's next?
From Old Man Trap, the overreaction from everyone to the Rey news is interesting. We just got Hayden and Ahmed Best back. Different situations, yes, but it proves Star Wars fans can be forgiving. And I would argue that Daisy wouldn't even consider this without having confidence in the idea.
Well, that's an optimistic way of looking at it. The difference, though, is, and there is a significant difference. Like, you get people like me who is, I love Daisy Ridley, and I like her as Rey Skywalker. But the reason I think it's a bad idea is because, there's a segment of the Star Wars fan thing that is not, it doesn't matter. You could put out the next Rey Skywalker movie and it could win Best Picture at the Academy Awards. It could be the greatest Star Wars movie since Return of the Jedi. It could be all that. It does not matter. Because there are people now who are just in principle, and will never change their position on this. They hate Rey Skywalker. They hate that character, and it does not matter what you do moving forward. Now, that same cannot be said of Ahmed Best. Ahmed Best, I think anybody who's reasonable and rational goes, hey, whether you loved or hated Jar Jar Binks, everybody acknowledges that wasn't Ahmed Best's fault. That wasn't Ahmed Best's problem. Ahmed Best was an actor who just showed up to work, doing the dream thing of being in a Star Wars movie and taking the direction given to him by the director and doing the best he could. And that wasn't his fault. And he got a bad deal. Mm-hmm. And everybody, even people who hate the Jar Jar Binks character like me, said Ahmed Best got a raw deal. That was not his fault, and he shouldn't have gotten mistreated the way he did. And I think everybody regrets the way he got treated. And the same can be said of Hayden Christensen. Good Canadian kid, by the way. It's like, I hate sand. Guess what? Hayden didn't write that line. No, Hayden didn't write that. Hayden is an actor who showed up to work and took the direction of the director and just did the best job he could with it. By the way, working for a director who notoriously doesn't like working with actors. George Lucas doesn't like working with actors.
I'm so glad he picked the right profession.
Yeah, I mean, but he's got the best imagination
creator.
In the world.
He's a great creator.
Yep, amazing, maybe the best of all time. I'll always have a little shrine to George Lucas in my house. But I mean, the Rey Skywalker thing is a totally different thing. The Rey Skywalker is a lightning rod point that kind of represents the division in Star Wars, among Star Wars fandom, I should say. And that isn't one that people are going to get over. I think they should. I mean, look at me. I don't like the Ahsoka character, but I go from project to project. So I didn't like the Ahsoka character, but then the Ahsoka character shows up in Rebels. I'm like, you know what? I actually didn't mind that. That was pretty good. And then I saw Rosario Dawson embody Ahsoka, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm on board. And then I saw the trailer for it. I'm like, even though traditionally I have definitely not been an Ahsoka fan, you put out a project that looks good to me. I don't care that I didn't like the character before. I like what you're doing now, and I will get on board with it, and I'll be excited about it. But the Rey Skywalker thing, no, people will die for this. People will fall on their sword for this one. Again, it does not matter how good this movie is. It does not matter if she wins an Academy Award. None of that matters. There are people who are just like tattooed on their backs like they're joining the Sons of Anarchy. We hate anything that has to do with Rey. And because of that reality, I think it was a bad decision by Lucasfilm, who is trying to mend the splits and the divisions in the Star Wars fandom right now. I think doing a Rey movie while you're trying to mend the divisions among Star Wars fans was a mistake. But we'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, we'll see. And I hope it works out great.
Just tangentially, did you see Ahmed Best's post when he got his Star Wars poster for Mandalorian?
No.
It is so charming and lovely of talking about how before the prequels, it was just this dream that had no feasibility of being part of the Star Wars universe. And then the prequels kind of changed that. And then he talks about how now the Star Wars family is so huge and how it's so amazing that so many people get to be part of this universe and how lucky he feels to be part of it and how excited he is to share it with other actors and with other fans. And he's just such a class act. Like, no matter how everyone treated him in the past, he is still just like, I'm so lucky that I get to be part of this. And I just love that. And I feel like we all should just kind of adopt a little bit of that into our own views on this franchise. Aren't we lucky that we live in a world where Star Wars exists in any capacity? Go find your version that you like.
All right, what's next?
From Anonymous. And by the way, the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel in Orlando is $5,000 for 2 people, and it's only a 48-hour stay experience. It's a very themed experience where you interact with actors and are part of a story. It's also where they use the real lightsaber.
Yeah, I still remember when they were creating that hotel, and I heard about it as a Star Wars fan. I'm sure all Star Wars fans went, cool. And then when they heard the cost, we heard, well, that's fake. And then we got confirmed that that's the cost. And we were like, well, fuck you.
Yeah. It was like Jurassic Park. And it's like, oh, well, it's okay. We'll have a coupon day for the peasants. It's like only the rich can go to Jurassic Park.
Aaron Cummings is so wonderful and wanted to take Tom. And I think it was me and Taylor who were like, oh, no, like that can't happen.
No. Like,
this is so much money.
I honestly, like... I get some things need to be expensive, right? The better you want to make something, there's going to be a cost that comes along with it. I understand that. But when you make something that is just wildly cost prohibitive to anybody but the 1% of your fan. Remember, we're not talking about Ferrari here, where you make your product specifically for the 1%. But it is from top to bottom. That's who your product is for. Star Wars is something that is meant to be for everybody. That doesn't mean you can't have some relatively expensive things within Star Wars, sure. But to have something that is so definitively cost prohibitive, but unreasonably cost prohibitive. Like, unless I'm going to wake up to Harrison Ford massaging my fucking feet, you cannot tell me that it needs to be $5,000.
Secret Grandpa Harrison Ford.
I mean,
Hey, John. I love your baloney feet.
I can do something about these puticles.
I mean, we could get in on that, John. I know a place up in Canada we could buy and start renting out. And 2 actors are in there right now.
They're not actors.
What are they doing in there?
They'll work for baloney.
Star Wars,
I mean,
Canada edition.
I like, you cannot tell me that is, hey, you know, we're just giving ourselves a little bit of a profit margin on this $5,000 a night thing. You cannot tell me that.
Well,
is Bob Iger cleaning the room
yes.
in between stays? Like, it's so ridiculous. It's you know what? I don't. Fuck Disneyland.
Yeah, just buy it.
Fuck Disneyland.
You're just gonna buy it right now.
Fuck everything about Disneyland.
Well,
anyway,
plus you run the risk of getting arrested by a Florida State trooper for supporting Disney. So
I mean, yeah,
it's a real
go.
risk.
All right, what's next?
Those views on Disneyland do not reflect everyone here. Give me tickets.
Yeah, me too. I haven't been there in like 10 years.
From Constanza, I definitely am not as excited about the Rey movie, but I could see why Disney would do it. From their perspective, they've made their bed, and they'd rather redeem the thread somewhat than leave it hanging to a terrible legacy. They have faith it can be done.
Listen, from a creative point of view, I put the social realities aside. From a creative point of view, listen, I'll tell you what, I'll watch a Rey Skywalker movie. I mean, I fucking hated The Rise of Skywalker. I hated that movie. But I still think it's a good character. I didn't like what they had her do. I hated that they made her the granddaughter of the somehow returned Palpatine.
Secret
I hated that they didn't have a plan for her, but the base core idea of Rey Skywalker as a character.
She really did have a
I like-
secret
That's
grandpa.
what I said. Why?
I thought it was
Why are you
something
catching
inappropriate.
on?
That's right.
Oh, you should listen to Chris a lot more.
I don't just say things because they're funny. I say things because they're true.
I thought it just came out of the
And they
ether.
have deep meaning.
secret grandpa.
So again, from a creative point of view, I'll be there to watch a Rey Skywalker movie. Yeah, I'm just thinking there's a social reality to how that's going to affect the possibility of its success and whether it just deepens the schisms in the Star Wars universe or not. But we'll find out.
You know what
Hopefully I'm
Palpatine
wrong.
reminds me of in the Rise of Skywalker? Like a secret grandpa.
Wow, that's so insightful. The secret,
Dang.
the biggest secret.
Glad I thought of
grandpa.
it.
I'm glad I thought.
Get out of here.
All right,
Thought about
what's
what?
next?
What are we talking about?
Baloney.
From Anonymous. I really don't know how I feel about Lucasfilm continuing with Rey Skywalker's story. I just don't feel that excited. Who's the threat going to be? I'm going to guess it's maybe a Sith. I really think there's a lot to tell with the Old Republic and maybe tell the rise of Plagueis.
It's her evil twin.
There is.
It's going to confront her.
By the way,
secret
that was a
grandpa
missed
origins.
opportunity. That was an FU. That when they
It's Way
showed
versus
in the trailers for the Rise of Skywalker and you saw Dark Rey, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it was just a momentary vision that she had. Anyway, I'm not going to go out and do a dissertation on the Rise of Skywalker again. But I totally forgot what the question was. Oh yes, bring it up again. So with where you go? See, there's something that Vision said in Civil War that I think is very applicable to where you move forward with a Jedi story. In any rate, right? And I'm paraphrasing Vision a little bit, but Vision says in Civil War, our very strength invites challenge. In a sense, Vision was kind of saying the fact that we as Avengers exist, it kind of brings the supervillains out of the woodwork. It brings them into the light. Like our very strength as Avengers invites challenge. And that's a problem. I think with the nature of the Force and the Jedi, if the Jedi reemerge, the Sith will reemerge. I think it's a natural thing. Like the Star Wars canon itself talks about balance, life, death, light, and darkness, right? There's a balance to the Force. And I think you will see Sith reemerge, or, whether it's like the sisterhood. So maybe there's a variation of that, but it will. And there, again, from a creative point of view, I think there's potential. All right.
You know what I think about when Rey comes up? This is the dumbest thing ever.
Pinball.
But remember in Force Awakens where she got that little stone and she put it in that plate and then it grew into like bread?
Oh, yeah.
That was like the greatest
Oh,
thing
that's
I've
the
ever
point.
seen.
That's your
Yeah,
story.
they should make that in real life.
Oh, baking with Ray.
That looked like the softest bread
Everyone at
ever.
Ray loves
pleasures.
it. Yeah.
Anyway,
It's in the Star Wars cookbook.
Baking with Ray and Ray.
All right, what's
It's
next?
a Galaxy's Edge cookbook that you can do that in. Anonymous again. With the viewership down for Mando season 3, could some of that be due to Disney Plus subs being down?
I think the cause and effect you have there is in reverse. I think, if people are really wanting to watch Mandalorian season 3, they're not unsubscribing to Disney Plus. So it's a chicken and egg thing. I just think maybe they might be out of order there a little bit. All right, what's next?
From Suthius. All right, when I first saw RRR on Netflix, I wrote in how I thought the ADR was awful. Well, I just discovered there are 4 versions. Original language of Tagalog and dubbed versions of Tamil, Kannada, and Hindi, Netflix version. Makes sense now.
I watched like 15 to 20 minutes of RR. It wasn't for me. But God, I did love the number they did at the Oscars. That was so good, so much fun. But yeah, I heard there were like a number of different versions. I read other people write about that maybe 1 or 2 of the versions have a little bit of an ADR kind of problem, like a little bit of mistimed or mismatched. So I heard. I mean, I didn't experience that myself for the little that I watched, but yeah, maybe it could be a different versions. And when you have multiple versions like that, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll happen. So I don't think that's a big deal.
Language dubbing is very, very difficult, y'all, because
Yeah.
you're trying to fit the same kind of verbiage into somebody's like face, and you're saying it in an entirely different language. That's why a lot of times too these translations aren't perfect, because when you're trying to match, they're referred to as the mouth flaps. When you're trying to match that, a lot of times what you're literally translating is either too long or too short, or just doesn't make sense because of the way speech patterns work, right?
Right.
Your mouth moves differently depending on how you're speaking. So there's usually going to be some slight disconnect, but ADR directors work really, really hard to try to get that as close as possible. And they usually ask their actors on the fly to help them improvise something that sounds similar, but can actually match the face more.
All right, what's next?
From Victor, I just got to experience ESB in concert, and it was awesome. Man, it must really suck having Vader as your boss. Those Imperial workers at the monitors are so distracted and scared every time he walks past them on that Star Destroyer bridge. Great detail.
Empire Strikes Back, watching any Star Wars in concert thing is definitely, if you get the opportunity to do that in your local city, take advantage of it and go. It's a really, really fun time, even if you're not a big Star Wars fan. Really. But I always wondered about that. Like, if you're, let's say you're an Imperial officer, do you want to get promoted?
No.
No. I want to be a radar technician. That's all I want to be. I want to be Matt.
You definitely don't want to be assigned to the executor.
No, you definitely don't want to be on his ship, and you don't want to move up the ranks. I'm just going to be a radar technician, and I'm going to do my job. I'm going to keep my head down, collect those Imperial benefits, and then go home. Never work on a big Star Destroyer or a Death Star. Always try to work on just one of the smaller, nonchalant ships, and you're good. All right, what's next?
From Gabe, was having trouble falling asleep, then randomly realized that Matt Damon basically played the same role in Ford versus Ferrari in Air. Love both movies, though, and as always, bring on the dirty. Bring on the dirty. Bring on the filthy.
I have not seen Air yet, but I do remember thinking, watching the trailers, this is kind of the same kind of role.
The character.
What's that?
He kind of rehashed the character, but it works.
But it's the character, whether he's playing it or another actor is playing it. That's the character, right? Playing that same kind of role. And listen, I loved his character in Ford v Ferrari, so I wouldn't mind seeing him playing that same kind of role again. All right, what's next?
From The Sock, just watched Brooklyn's Finest in Training for the first time, not realizing they're both directed by Antoine Fuqua. Also watched The Rover for the first time, and I loved Robert Pattinson's character.
Rover's
he was just
really
so
good.
sweet, and I wanted to give him a hug.
So you mean Training Day? I'm not familiar with which one is Brooklyn's Finest.
I haven't seen it.
That one
I'm not familiar with that one. Training Day, though, is amazing. That one, Denzel Washington Academy Award, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That's the whole King Kong ain't got nothing on me.
Does the rover have anything to do with like Mars?
No.
No.
It's Australia.
All excited there. Nope. Very, very different. And Robert
watch that
Pattinson
today.
is fabulous in that movie. And Training Day is incredible. I really like Antoine Fuqua. I don't like every single movie he's done, but I think he's a really unique director. I love the way he handles characters. So anyway, all right, what's next?
From Anonymous, I think there's no way these 3 Star Wars movies projects don't happen. You have one directed by a current LF director. Lucasfilm director, thank you. One by someone who just directed something for Lucasfilm, and a movie that can move the saga forward post-episode. Oh my God, I'm blanking on Roman numerals. 9. Thank you so much. My brain was like, nope. They're set up for success. I just buffered so hard.
Okay. But that same logic applies to Rian Johnson and to Taika Waititi as well. You had Taika Waititi, who made movies that made tons of money for Disney and directed Star Wars stuff, and with great success that almost everybody loved what he did with Star Wars stuff. Rian Johnson, not beloved, but guess what? Think what you will about The Last Skywalker or The Last Jedi, and think what I want about The Rise of Skywalker. The reality is The Last Jedi is in the $1 billion club. So you could say those same things about them. I am not 100% that these things are going to happen. The one I feel most safe about is the Dave Filoni project, because Mandalorian is this ongoing thing, and you're going to cap off Mandalorian with that movie. Something that Jon Favreau just said a little while ago they probably won't do. But here they are, and they're doing it. So, okay, but still, I think out of all of them, that's the most likely. The James Mangold thing, I'll tell you what, it feels just like the D&D one. Remember? The guys coming off Game of Thrones, and they were going to do the Old Republic thing and all that kind of stuff. I mean, and then that just disappeared, fell apart. The Kevin Feige thing, I would say, hey, Kevin Feige is the golden child at the House of Mouse at Disney, and he wants to do a Star Wars thing. His real passion is Star Wars. Definitely, 100%, that's going to work. Well, where'd that go? Patty Jenkins, she's won, her films have won Academy Awards. She's just did this big winning thing for DC with Wonder Woman. I mean, put 84 aside, which wasn't so good, but I mean, she's a celebrated director. They have this great thing, but definitely going to happen, right? Well, that thing's not going to happen. So I don't think the James Mangold thing is as rock solid secure. Listen, if I had to bet $1,000, yeah, I would put it on that the movie's going to happen. And I certainly hope it happens. I just don't feel with the Lucasfilm. And by the way, all this is being set up, and another head of Lucasfilm is going to come in here within the next year. Within the next year, there's going to be a new head of Lucasfilm. And depending on what stage of development those projects are in, the next head of Lucasfilm may go, this ain't it. We're going in a different direction. We're going to do something different. I got a better idea. Again, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I think the likelihood is that these three things happen. I'm just saying the history of Lucasfilm, I can't feel secure about it. I just can't feel secure about it. So fingers crossed, though. All right, what's next?
From Drew Gretsch, do you think that the newly announced Star Wars films will have opening crawls?
Oh, God, they better.
I mean, if they're going to be a saga, yeah, for sure.
I mean, look, I don't want to overstate it because an opening crawl in Rogue One would not have made the movie a better movie. It's something that would have taken 90 seconds. It would have been done, and then you move on, right? But the opening crawl is such a piece of the identity of Star Wars. You know, Rob and I would talk about even the comic books would have opening crawls. The video games had opening crawls. It is just a part of the DNA that as you as a fan, as you're sitting there, that moment an opening crawl starts, it kind of takes you into the world. You are now in Star Wars. And I've always thought it is one of the most baffling, dumbest decisions they ever made to only the numbered chapter Star Wars things can have opening crawls. It's what differentiates the number saga from the other movies. Really? How about your stories is what differentiates? How about your characters is what differentiates? How about what you do with the movie is what sets it apart? Not the 90-second opening crawl that is the hallmark. It's like starting a Marvel movie without bum 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 bum. That's just, that Marvel thing starts off and there's a mental switch that goes off for fans. It's like, okay, now I'm in the MCU. We're ready to go. Or you're sitting down for a Harry Potter thing and bum ba-dum bum bum bum. Like you're there. It has always, to me, been one of the dumbest decisions to not have opening crawls. And until Kathleen Kennedy is gone, I don't think they're going to change their minds.
There's actually an article that came out this morning from Entertainment Weekly saying that Kathleen Kennedy announced at Star Wars Celebration that the crawl is back for all movies.
Fucking yes!
Yes. Good job,
Fantastic! I am so glad to hear that. Oh, it's not often that you see really bad decisions get walked back and fix it. Good, because they never should have taken it out. That's awesome news.
And it
Good
didn't help that the intro to Rogue One was really awkward. It was just like Rogue One.
Boom.
Yeah.
It was. Now, look, again, don't get me wrong. An opening crawl in Solo, a Star Wars story, would not have taken it from a sub $400 million movie to a $1.2 billion movie. Look, it's a minor thing that happens just momentarily. It wasn't going to change the fortune of Solo or whatever, but it's such a DNA part of Star Wars. It's weird not to have it there. Anyway, all right, I've ranted about that long enough. What's next?
From Neo Braveheart, maybe it was good you stopped watching the Flash TV show. In the latest episode, Barry shows up in a Star Trek uniform, and his wife says, Star, wait for it, Wars? And no, they didn't correct it.
I might have thrown something at the TV. If I'd seen that. A little bit overreaction, sure. Yeah, maybe a bit of an overreaction. I might have thrown something at the TV. I can't remember why we were watching The Voice. And who was the host of The Voice? He's normally a radio personality, and he's the producer of that. And I think he's
Carson
the
Daly?
Bill.
What's that?
Isn't it Carson Daly on The Voice?
It's either Carson Daly.
Ryan Seacrest.
I was going to say it's Carson Daly or Ryan Seacrest.
Ryan Seacrest does or did American
it's
Idol.
Carson Daly.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's Carson Daly,
Daly's
right?
for The Voice.
I remember sometimes it's weird. The littlest things can bother me because I'm watching The Voice. Ann and I used to love watching The Voice. I haven't watched it in a while, but I used to love watching that show. And one of the singers was about to sing Summer of 69 by...
I knew it was
There's a little chuckle in the background.
coming.
Summer of 69 by, of course, good Canadian kid, Bryan Adams. Right? And Carson Daly It is Carson Daly, right?
Yeah.
Carson Daly introduces us singing the great American classic, Summer of
yeah,
69.
man.
I'm like,
Yeah, that's
fuck
ours.
you and your house burn in hell. Because, of course,
Gonna fuck his house?
burn it. Burn it. Because
Okay.
Summer of 69 is a Canadian song.
That's rock and roll, so it's American.
It is Canadian, and I was like, so the weird little things that can set us off like that. I'm like, you're dead to me, Daly.
Until you bet more than $10.
Until you get more than
That's American, baby.
Go live with Blowjob Jim for all I care. It's a Canadian, and but to his to his credit, after they came, the contestants sang the song. And then when they came back from commercial break, to his credit, Carson Daly corrected himself. He said, "Oh, my mistake, of course, Summer 69 is a Canadian classic." So I'm like, all right. You walked me off the ledge on that.
But here's the point. You said it's been a long time since you watched this.
It has
show,
been, yes.
and it was because of that.
That's right. It died to me that day.
Yeah. It's been hurting you every day.
All right, what's next?
I just love that the comments are just like, this show has gone really off the rails today.
Fine, just go with it.
Run with it, guys. It's fun.
Is this our first week back from vacation? No.
I can't remember.
No.
Oh.
It's our first week back from Easter. We're
Oh,
all
yeah,
hyped up on
Easter.
candy still. Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas
Izzy
Cage.
just got KO'd Alex 5 minutes ago. Played possum and baited Alex into unloading with his guard down. Quite impressive. I kind of feel bad for Alex though, because now everyone's acting as if he didn't beat Izzy thrice. And much love to the king of Miami.
Masvidal.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Masvidal.
I don't watch this.
Who I really enjoy. He's an entertaining fighter, but he's also the most overrated fighter. Like one of the top 3 most overrated fighters I think there's been. But that has been a weird fight because in all 3 fights that Alex beat Stylebender was winning the fight. And then Izzy would come out of nowhere and win, or Alex would come out of nowhere and win. And this fight was completely the opposite. Alex was actually controlling that fight. And then with Stylebender, Izzy back against the cage, he hit this kind of looping right that kind of came up and down and just clocked him, put him out cold. So every time whoever is winning the fight, the other guy ends up winning. It's just been a really, really theory. But listen, don't forget the record is still Alex 3, Izzy 1. So they're going to have to run it back again at some point.
You know what? His coaching team did probably a great job in figuring out.
Oh, looking for the
that
counters?
When
Yeah.
Alex feels like he's drawn blood, he goes after them with like reckless abandon.
Maybe
and,
be a
like,
little bit
Yeah,
reckless.
he fucks his house.
Yeah, he took advantage of that, and good for him. And good things happen when Joe Burrow's in the house. Did you
All
see
right.
him? Did you see him there in the crowd?
Yep, I
Whole
saw
bunch of the
Joe.
NFL
Yep.
guys. Yeah.
All right, last one of the day, then we're out of time.
Okay, our last one is from Nicolas Cage again. Creator Clash coming up got me wondering, would you ever fight someone, MMA or boxing, with equal training or experience as you for charity? If someone donated $1 million for you to fight, I don't know, Stuckman, if he had training like you and was the same size, would you?
I mean, he's got reach on you. He's tall.
Chris, hey, listen.
Yeah.
You may not know this just from watching Chris on
Do
YouTube
anything?
videos. Chris is a big guy.
Yeah, he's got reach on you.
Yeah, he's a big guy, and I'm not a small guy. Like I'm about 6 foot, 220 pounds, and Chris is a big dude, really, really big. Anyway, that's just a side note. Chris is a really big guy. Oh yeah, you know me. I'll do anything for a charity thing. I mean,
Come on. But like, I'm a big boxing fan, but I don't believe anyone should get hit in the head. Not a lot of times. It's a danger. That's why I respect everyone who does it. It's like,
no. If you go in there, fun competition. I mean, I think some for fun competition.
until you get smacked
charity.
in the face.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Then it becomes, oh, you hit me.
Everyone
a
has a
little too hard.
charity thing.
You
in the
hurt
face.
for
No, those things happen.
you hurt for a minute, and then you're fine.
Look what happened to Apollo and Drago. That's supposed to be charity. He died. He died, bro.
He was like, throw the towel.
Look at what happened to Apollo.
Oh,
Yeah, it could be charity, but you never know when you get smacked in the face.
No, what
have such a
I've
hard time
never
with it.
understood, what I've seen before, and this goes back all the way to, God, I can't remember who else. Anyway, this goes back like 15 years ago. What I've never understood is like online people who have beef and go, well, let's do a fight. Like to me, like, what are you, fucking 5? But I mean, the idea of, hey, friendly competition, let's get in there, let's lace them up, let's get in there and throw down for a bit for charity and have some fun. And Yeah, I'd be down for that.
I have a really hard time hitting people who I like, though. Like when I'm doing my boxing training and my coach Travis makes me punch him, afterwards I usually apologize and hug him, and I'm not hurting him. Look at me. I've never hurt anyone in my life except with my words. Like,
And your words cut.
They cut deep.
Your words
I
cut.
go for the jugular. I want you all to feel bad about what you've done.
I have someone that I have online beef with that I can do a challenge to. What is it? MMA?
Is it Baloney Bob?
Well, his name is Punsataki. How do you say it? Punsatani Phil?
Punxsutawney
Because
Phil,
he's
the
never
gopher?
he's never right. So
He's never.
I'm down to have a
ever
MMA
right.
charity.
You gotta punch an animal.
The little
Guess
you're
who?
gonna punch your
Didn't
grandma?
KSI have a couple of those?
Who got
Like,
his-
Sorry, with Logan Paul, that was his first match, and he beat him twice.
I thought
with
were
Logan
they
Paul.
buddies though?
Now they're buddies.
Oh, now they're buddies. But at the
You know,
time
after you
they
get
were
in the ring,
beefing
I
and
guess
stuff like that,
supposedly
right?
you get this companionship. So now they're buddies. I mean, both of them are making a lot of money. Why not be friends if you guys are making money together? I mean, I don't know.
Anyway. All right, listen, guys, there are more questions still to come, but we have run out of time here today. But don't worry, we're going to do an open mic a little bit later this afternoon, and we will get through all the remaining questions that were there, plus take some live ones from the audience that's going to be watching there as well. So make sure you come back and join us at 3 p.m. Los Angeles time for that, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. And with that down, guys, that'll do it for today's episode of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those tip questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. And number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Don't forget to come back and join us again for tomorrow's episode of the show. Want to thank people in the room, Mr. Ray Ora, getting attacked by a soon-to-be dead Rocket Raccoon.
No.
Back there, we got Taylor Gonzalez running the show, Jonathan Foyko, and the delightful and now heartbroken Chris Carr. Rocket's gonna die. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, baloney.